A warning, dear listener, if you dare, as language, spoilers, and opinions will prevail. A gruesome tale is about to unfold. Take heart, dear listener, and become the bold, as monstrous creatures from legends of old shall still your heart and freeze the soul. If you're not afraid of nightmares tonight, sit back, relax, and enjoy the fright.
愛し愛し合えるというね君の唇を塞ぐよ
Greetings and welcome to another edition of Dub Talk Classics, where members of Dub Talk get together and talk about a series that may or may not have shaped our views on anime and the English dub community. My name is Stephanie, and I'm joined by my fellow creatures of the night, Megan, Roots, and Amon.
The camera go. I'll eat her later.
Boy, howdy, folks! Welcome to the first annual tractor pull.
God damn it! Too early for that. You ruined the atmosphere I'm setting. God damn you!
I'm sorry, Mom. This is this backwoods town.
I pulled out my William Dafoe here.
Damn it, Megan! You already ruined it. God damn. All right. Now. No, you're
not really at all.
All right.
This is your punishment.
Shut up! Now what, pray tell, would require these three souls to enter my chamber? Why, we're here to speak of unspeakable creatures that will make your blood curl in fright.
Is it for kids?
Can I talk? Please! We don't have time for this today! Christ! One swear, one wrong move, and your life will be forfeit. The Nightwalker creatures simply known as Shiki. Do not believe me? Well, let me tell you of this tale of Shiki. So Otoba is a small village with around 1,300 residents. So small, the village isn't even connected to a single highway. An isolated village in which old customs, such as the burial of the dead, are still practiced. One day, the bodies of 3 people are found dead. Although Toshio Ozaki, the village's lone doctor, feels uncertain, he treats the deaths as normal circumstance. However, in the days following, the villagers start to die, one after the other. Now, in order to discuss this legend, we will delve into Shiki's ranks, discuss their members, their voices, and our thoughts on these miraculous creatures. I hope you're ready for a scare, dear viewers, because it's time to discuss this urban legend. But before we get too far ahead, I want to briefly discuss our prior experiences with this series, considering that's the whole thing with Dub Talk Classics. And I'm gonna stop using that voice now because there's no reason for me to do it. So, prior experiences with this series. So, if I'm right, 2 of us here have actually never seen the show before.
One of us wanted to punch somebody for making her watch this show.
You fucking volunteered,
Yes, I did.
Don't you start with me.
I volunteered
You did it to
again.
yourself. So yeah, this is the first time Megan is seeing the show. And Amon, I think this is the first time you're seeing it too, right?
That is correct. I think I saw like 3 episodes on your stream way back in the day. But all I remembered was vampires, so...
Yeah, I didn't even have that level of experience. I have never even touched the show. I bought this blind because the rights are expiring later this year.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that towards
I should
the
point
end.
out, that's why I bought it too.
Yeah, you can buy, by the way, straight up, fucking buy this. It's like $20 on the save label. It is worth every fucking penny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more towards the end when we go into how you can see the series as of right now. But Roots, you and I have seen this show before, right? Okay, so what is your prior experience with this show? Because I know this is the second time for me I'm seeing it. I think this is the second time for you, right?
I would watch it every once in a while back in the day. I caught it during the simulcast period and then bought it I bought it once, it went missing, and then I bought it again during that point where they had it on save, but it was still in the art box with the piece of tape that would tear everything apart if you took it off.
Oh, yeah, that was a thing. And as for me, I didn't actually watch it simulcasting originally. What's funny is, I saw the trailers for it and got really freaked out over it. And this was probably my senior year in college while I was doing anime reviews for a while. And it's also funny because I actually won the first half of the show in a contest that Funimation had. And I got the first set in the limited edition box. And then I actually went through the ever wonderful store in New England called Bull Moose for the second half. And actually had, because I sold a lot of old books and CDs at the time. So I had a lot of store credit built up. So basically I had gotten the entire series of Shiki, the really nice limited edition set for everything, for about $25-30 total. Which is pretty cool. Yeah, and then I reviewed it a long time ago, which, by the way, I rewatched my review that I made earlier today, and I am such a naive little baby, it's not even funny.
Oh, look at the big baby.
Alright, my big thing with this show in general for me, and this is why I really wanted to talk about it, and not just because the license was expiring soon, but it was a show where I really started noticing English voice acting performances and picked up on quite a few names, which we'll get to, that just stayed on my radar for a long-ass time after I got introduced to them. But we'll get into that much more a bit later. So, now that we kind of have a general idea of our experience with the show, are we ready to just dive right into everything? Because we got
let's yank off the Band-Aid, which is about the best metaphor for me watching the show. Just rip off the Band-Aid.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot to cover because Shiki is a difficult show to talk about because there's so many characters involved in the story. So believe me when I say I had a very difficult time narrowing this down. But before we talk about characters, we gotta talk about staff. So we're gonna start with the ADR directors and scriptwriters. We have two of them. The ADR director for Shiki is one Mr. Mike McFarland, who has directed other series such as Mushishi, Eden of the East, and the Full Metal Alchemist franchise. And as for our two writers, for the majority of the show, which is episodes 1 to 3 and then 5 to 22, we have Bonnie Clinkenbeard, who has also written for shows such as Black Butler, The Vision of Escaflowne, and Soul Eater. And then for parts of episode 1 and 7, and then the entirety of episode 4, we have Blair Ronan, who is our other writer, who has written for series such as Darker and Black Gemini of the Meteor, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and Kaze no Stigma. So, to start us off, how do we feel about the directing and writing on the show? Let's start with Amon. Can you kick us off, please? How do you feel about the writing?
It was great.
That's it?
No, I have more thoughts, but the overall is that it's great. This is a very dialogue-heavy show.
It really is.
It is a very dialogue-heavy show. It's very drama-based. A lot of it is about like the interior feelings of the character, etc. Like this is very much the kind of thing where if you go back to like, you know, even like the mid-90s, this is the kind of show that probably wouldn't get dubbed just because they look at it and it's like, yeah, we're gonna botch this. Like no one has the chops here yet to like pull this kind of thing off. But I think this is done very, very well. I thought they did a wonderful job of, writing the script in English and preserving a lot of what is so clearly necessary about, you know, the tone and how the characters are thinking and what they're feeling. And Mike did a wonderful job directing the actors to match that. This definitely feels like one of these dubs where like if enough things are out of place, the whole thing just kind of falls apart. And obviously, as I think we'll get to, just for like we're only covering a sliver of the cast, and it's already a lot. And it's like there's a lot of moving pieces on here, and everything needs to fit just right, or the whole thing is gonna like kind of blow up in your face. But I thought they did a very good job. This is one of the better dubs I think I've heard.
Megan, how do you feel about the directing and writing on the show?
First of all, this show scares the fucking shit out of me. and this is gonna sound extra kind of weird to Amon and Roots. I had a harder time watching parts of this show than I did Devilman Crybaby.
I mean, you expect Devilman Crybaby to be a hard time. You know, you don't necessarily expect Shiki to get as horrifying as it does in its last 5 episodes.
20 and a half and 21 and a half deserve special
the
mention.
only episodes, we're gonna talk
It's
about
like-
the specific characters mainly for those OVA episodes in the next segment, but yeah. Shiki is sorry.
Sorry, go on.
I think I got through episode 4 and I called Lilac with threats to punch her.
Yeah, she did.
When Megumi crawls out of the wall like something out of a fucking Saw movie or some shit.
Yeah, she called me immediately after, like, she's like, I'm going to kill you. I'm like, why? What happened? I saw the episode.
No, your first reaction was I'm pooping, and then the second one was what's wrong?
You didn't need to tell everybody that! You asshole!
Lilac, everybody poops. It's not that weird.
I don't care. Nobody needs to know that. It's too much information for people.
I'm sorry,
Damn.
everybody, if I ruined the illusion of Lilac for you. Lilac does in fact poop like the rest of us. You can go about your day.
Damn it. No.
No,
It is kind of funny because I was in the bathroom and she tried calling me twice, but I was texting her and I was like, dude, leave me be for 5 seconds. And she's just telling me, I hate you so much. No, wait. I should have brought this up before we started. She, ignored her call the first time. She left me a voicemail saying, like, I hate you so much. And
I
that
hope
was
that
it.
I want you to find
She
a way
left me a voicemail
to
and I
get that
still have
recording
it.
off your phone and into the episode, only because I think I was near crying.
Keep talking. I'll try and get it. I am totally
Gonna try to
find
play it for y'all. But no, one of the things I honestly really want to mention, and this is kind of the best place to do it, is we always say thank your engineers and your audio people, because one of the things that I want to highlight that is a masterpiece in Shiki is the sound editing on this show.
I hate you so much right now. End of message. Delete.
That's it. That's our friendship in a nutshell. Anyway, back to what I was saying. But no, the sound mixing in this show is impeccable, to say the least. And I specifically want to mention episode 20 and a half, the first OVA, because there's a scene where they are in a bunch of metal pipes, crawling through a I think it's like an irrigation system.
Yeah, they're in like the underground
tunnels. Yeah, they're in these underground tunnels, and the farther that the Shiki go into the underground tunnels trying to escape the people, because by this point in the show, also there's a disclaimer, the town knows that the Shiki exists and that they are real, and they have gone full, like, Beauty and the Beast Gaston song times 10.
This is true.
Like, please draw Dr. Ozaki dressed as Gaston, por favor.
Can we? That'd be amazing. I fucking love Dr. Ozaki. Sorry, go on.
But they're crawling through these tunnels, and there's not a lot of music behind it. All there is the sound of distant screaming, metal being, like, crawled on through nails, as the humans are basically shanking the Shiki's muscles that they can use, like their Achilles tendons and their shin and their tendons, tying them by their feet and dragging them back like animals. And I was just like, oh my god, I'm gonna vomit. Because it was intense.
Yeah.
So, whoever, I feel really bad because I can't jump on ANN or my PS4 to pull up the sound mixing credits for that episode. Whoever, like, the engineer in the booth with Mike.
I got you, fam. I'll figure this out. Give me, like, 2 seconds. Keep going.
Yeah, whoever was in the booth with Mike and in the mixing studio, like, holy shit, y'all are fucking amazing. The writing in the show is great. There's nothing that feels, like, super out of date. Especially for a show that takes place in the 90s. That's being animated in the early 2000s when I think Funimation as we know it isn't where it's at. 2010.
The show, the show itself is dubbed around like late 2000s or so.
Like, yeah, early 2010s, because the show came out, I think, in, like, 2010.
Okay, so the answer to the question, the ADR engineer is one Mr. Kenneth Thompson. He has been the engineer for series such as the East franchise, Danganronpa the animation, and he's also done Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Italia, Yomagun. He has a few different things. But he's also done a few other things such as what am I looking at? He's also done dialogue editing for March Comes In Like a Lion.
Oh, cool. That's a show episode we're doing, so we don't want to talk too much.
And he's also done dialogue editing for Fate Apocrypha 2.
Oh, neat.
He's kind of all over the place then, but he also doesn't have a lot of credits. But yeah, he's the ADR engineer of the show.
Oh, but no, for a show that takes place in the late 90s, but dubbed, obviously, about a decade or so after, there's nothing that feels, like, super out of place or super, like, janky.
Yeah.
Especially because this is a dub from, like, what, late 2010? Early 2010s?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Before I think Funimation has kind of, like, come into its own.
Right.
Funimation was already pretty high quality back then, but they're not as high of a quality as they were then as they are now. I think back around that time, what would we say, like, the two biggest prestige dubs they had done were basically Full Metal Alchemist and, like, Dragon Ball Z.
Yes, to be fair,
To
you're
be fair,
not
like,
wrong.
That was kind of what they had, and this is, I think, back when Bandai was still kind of around. And then in terms of the directing, I think Mike McFarlane knocks it out of the park. None of the characters feel out of place. I think a lot of the casting was actually pretty creative for back then. Or even for back then. There's a lot of actors in lead roles that I would, or major players that I would today consider being kind of more out of the box. So good on you, Mike.
Roots, how do you feel about the directing and writing of the show?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, his horror and suspense dubs are probably some of my favorite Mike McFarlane dubs.
I will fully agree with you on that, but continue.
Like, Eden of the East is something I would really love to cover as a Classics episode one of these days.
Ooh, I will join you for that one.
Mhm.
I love Eden of the East.
But, I really like that the dialogue writing was really snappy and bannery.
Right.
Mm.
And it didn't feel, I don't know what the word would be, wordy? Like, it didn't,
Yeah,
it
kinda.
didn't feel denser than it needed to be.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
The casting, for the time period it was dubbed, it was really respectably out of the box. Most of the people involved in the dub now are probably some of Funimation's, what would probably be considered like their A-tier actors nowadays, but that was a time in which at least a few of them were just getting their starts as leads, so.
Like I was saying a second ago, I really have to agree with you, because when you think of Mike McFarlane as a director, 9 times out of 10, you're going to think of really big-name projects like One Piece and Attack on Titan, but I think some of my favorite directing work that Mike has ever done is on those small projects, and particularly the horror mystery genre. I think it's absolutely amazing when he gets to work on these. I mean, I brought up Mushishi and Eden of the East for a reason. Those two are really phenomenal English dubs that he's directed, and this is also no exception. Shiki is an outstanding dub to me, giving it another rewatch. A few years ago, I would have some problems with it, and we'll get to one in particular later that I have to reevaluate my opinion on, but in terms of casting and directing, this show was very solid, because one of the major themes with this show, and I'll probably talk it a bit more shortly, is the ethics and the morals of who truly is the monster here. Is it actually the Shiki, or is it the humans? And the dub does really display this very well, as does the writing, because the show does something really interesting to me, and it doesn't just spend time with the humans who are dealing with the deaths in their families and all this trauma in the village, but you also see the Shiki and how they react and how they're coping with everything. And the show actually does really well in making some of the Shiki very sympathetic. I know two in particular, Now Yasamori, who we'll talk about shortly, and Toromuto, who we'll discuss much later on, are probably the strongest cases of this for me. But yeah, if anything, like, this is the series where I fell in love with Mike as a director, but more for the small name projects than the very popular ones. And writing wise, I really love the writing here as well. To be fair, there are some small problems here and there, but I think that's more because of the limitations of the show. Because by the end of it, there are some fun little plot holes that kind of just stay there and they don't get resolved, but for the most part, the stub is well directed, well cast, and well written. I think we're ready to move on to our first group of characters, and the first 4 characters we're going to be talking about. These are characters that are primary in the 2 OVA episodes that do fit actually rather nicely into the main storyline. The 4 characters to talk about, we have the aforementioned Now Yasamori. She is a woman in the village who is very kind-hearted at the start until she dies and becomes a Shiki, and then just kind of becomes fucking nuts. And she wants to bring her family to her side, but is unable to do so. I guess becoming a Shiki is kind of a genetic thing, from my understanding. It's never fully discussed too much. Next we have Hasegawa. He is the owner of a cafe in the village. He and his wife moved to Sotoba after the death of their child. Now in Hasegawa, their major episode is actually episode 20 and a half. Which is the one that Megan was talking about earlier with the Shiki being hunted down in those irrigation tunnels. The other 2 we see more in episode 21 and a half, and they are Motoko Maeda and Kaname Yano. Kaname is the owner of a roadside diner in the village and lives with her mother. Her mother unfortunately ends up becoming a Shiki, and Kaname just kind of goes through the paces during the episode. Meanwhile, Motoko...
Holy shit.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus.
She's on fire.
Yeah, my note for her... My note for her for remembering who the characters are is just
This girl is on fire.
She basically causes, like, the fire that happens at the end of the show.
My imaginary friend is a leprechaun named Chippy. He tells me to burn things.
Damn you, old man. Damn you, old man.
Damn it, Roots, holy shit. Did you just fucking pull out Ralph Wiggum?
No, okay, so Motoko, she is a village resident. Her entire family ends up dead except for her because of the Shiki as well. She curses her father-in-law because he is actually the first to die and come back as a Shiki, and she's also a very cautious. She's more of a cautious woman because she wants to make sure her kids are safe and nothing bad happens. Stay away from major highways, kids. But by the end of it, she just kind of loses her loving mind to the point where she takes her only remaining child, locks them in a bathroom, and stays there for days until the child is decomposed and rotting. That scene with her in the bathroom is just the creepiest.
Yeah, that's the moment where I was
shit
like,
got
oh,
real.
fuck. Like, I was sitting and watching the episode, and then she pats his head,
like,
and
shit got
his
real.
scalp and his hair just slides, and you see, like, you hear the sound of it sliding, and you see, like, kind of his maggot-infested brain, and I was like, oh, fuck!
Yeah, the first time I saw that scene, I was like, oh shit, and I had to pause and breathe for a second. Luckily, that's towards the end of the show, though.
Oh god, if that had been, like, the middle of the show, I would have fucking noped the hell out of here, and you would have had to replace me.
Alright, so the individuals who are voicing these characters, for Now Yasamori, we have Cynthia Krantz, who has been in other series such as Dragon Ball Z, Glass Fleet, and Yu Yu Hakusho. Hasegawa is voiced by one Mr. Christopher Sabat, who has been in series such as One Piece, D. Gray Man, and some of the Lupin the Film Lupin the Third films. Motoko Maeda is voiced by, and I apologize for mispronouncing your last name, Dana Schultz. The only named character I could actually find for her is Portia from Romeo x Juliet. Otherwise, she has voiced background characters in series such as Mushishi
Question.
and Claymore. Yes.
Is she Donald Schultz's wife?
No, it doesn't.
No,
look like
the last name's different.
Yeah, the spelling's different.
And as for Kaname Yano, that is Miss Stephanie Young, who has been in series such as Claymore, School Rumble, and Spice and Wolf. Megan, since you were kind of going into it with Motoko, could you give me your thoughts on these 4 performances?
I would first of all, like to congratulate Mike McFarlane on giving small-time indie actor Christopher Sabat a chance to break into the industry.
God damn it.
No, I want to save Motoko for last. Christopher Sabat was really good in this for a character that doesn't talk as much and is very much a quiet man. This is not the role that you would, like, even, I think, a lot of us who have watched, like, even some of the shoujo stuff he's been in, this is very, very much a departure from what I think everyone knows Chris Sabat in. Like, if you only know Chris Sabat for things like Dragon Ball, for, like, playing Armstrong, like that, go watch this show and watch him play a quiet shop owner who eventually succumbs to his own... I don't even want to say, like, when he kills everybody in 20 and a half. He doesn't do it out of vengeance or anything. He mercy kills them. It is, like, fucking heartbreaking because at this point, they've run out of stakes to permanently kill all the Shiki that were in the tubes. So they dragged them all out, tied them up, and basically left them to be burned in the sun so that they would slowly die of sun torture. And when they all start screaming, he finally takes it upon himself to kill, I believe for the first time. And he takes out all of the Shiki there himself, and you hear everybody around them going, this isn't for you to do, you don't have to do this. And he does it anyway, and the last person he kills is Now, who he had, I believe, in the flashbacks for that episode, had come to see as his own child. Because it was said that his child died in an accident. And Now was talking about how lucky she was to finally have parents who loved her and a loving husband and a loving son. But he takes them all out and kills them and then just breaks into tears. And I think that's one of the first times I can actively remember a Chris Sabat character crying. That wasn't like, you know, Kuwabara being a big cry muscle-bound jerk.
Kuwabara, yep.
I've never seen Yu Yu Hakusho, but I understand that's a thing. And then you have Now, who is, oh god, is it Cynthia? Yeah, Cynthia Kranz is Now.
It's Cynthia, yep.
You kind of, like, you feel bad for her at first, because she gets really sick and she dies, and then she just wants her family back. And in those last episodes, I think she finally lets all of her demons catch up with her. And she freaks out, and hearing her scream and cry in that tube. And then, like, it just got fuck me up, fam. It just fuck me up, fam.
Yeah.
It was gut-wrenching. Like, and you go for a lot of the series not wanting her to get her happy ending. Because she's just killing people. And I think Megumi says it best. It's, oh yeah, says the woman who goes after her own family first. And Megumi is a see you next Tuesday, but we'll get to her anyway. And then there's Stephanie Young's character, who's the shop owner, who I wish that character showed up a little more than she did, besides the one OVA. I thought it was a good performance, if not in the background for a bit. And even though her character does have these moments with her mom, it's such quiet and little dialogue stuff that I can't really judge it super, super harshly. But what I can say is that Dana Schultz gave one of the most terrifying performances in an anime I have ever fucking watched in my life. In the span of 20 minutes.
Not gonna fight you on that one.
If not less.
Like, yeah, not gonna fight you.
everyone likes to say that dubs aren't as good as subs. Fucking watch that. And tell me that that wasn't shit pantsing scary. Like, pants, like, get your brown pants scary. Like, there is something to watching this woman break. Because she is already timid and kind of weak-willed. She's getting pushed around by her in-laws, especially her mother-in-law. Has to watch, like, and then whenever she tries to reach out for help, everyone's pushing her away. Like, she tries to go to the Ozaki clinic, and it's closed. It's the one day that it's closed because of things Dr. Ozaki was doing that day. She tries to go to the other clinic, and it's only open at night. Her daughter is being a hypnotized zombie on her back, and then the only way that she thinks to get through with it all is to damn her father-in-law, who came back from the dead and fucked him up. She never knows that the guy died, that he gets killed. He's, like, I think one of the first people to also die in the lynch mob, too. I believe is the father-in-law.
No, I don't think so.
I remember him getting caught pretty early on.
Maybe because, my thing is, the last time we saw him, I remember, it was, is with Akira Tanaka.
Oh, yeah.
That's the last time I remember
That's
seeing
where
him.
that's where it is. That's where I remember seeing him.
Yeah, I don't think he was among the first ones to be killed, though.
Then I think I know who killed him.
But I wouldn't be surprised if he did
then.
get killed.
Based on stuff in the other series. And then, just hearing her going, damn you, old man. As she just goes around the village, and all of the other events in the stories are going on, and there she is, never flinching in what she's doing, up until the point where she takes a gasoline can, takes off her dress, sets it on, like, douses it in gas, sets the mast on fire, douses herself, and lets herself get burned alive, cursing the whole village. Holy shit, dude!
Yeah, so Megan basically described episode 21 and a half in a nutshell from that.
And I can't do it any justice describing it in words. Like, you have to go watch it for yourself. Even if it's out of context, just to see how fucking scary it is.
You okay, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good. Go!
Okay, yeah, Roots, can you give me your thoughts on these 4 characters, please?
Alright, splitting this up. Let us see. Let's start with Hasegawa. I really like it when Sabbat plays sort of the calm and collected one. It's something you don't really see a lot. Maybe more so now because he's in a lot more things than even back then. Wide variety of roles and whatnot. And yeah, him breaking down at the end of 20 and a half, just stabbing people he knew, just to put them out of their misery. That was something. And what I really didn't like the character of Now in that OVA. Like I'm.
Wait, you didn't like her character?
I didn't. I liked the performance. I didn't like the character.
Okay. I can see why. I guess I can kind of see why. But just so I know, though, why do you not the character of Now?
I can't put aside what she attempted to do.
Okay.
I can't put aside the fact that she basically ate her family in the hopes that they would come back, and they didn't. And I can't sympathize with her in the aftermath, because that was a really monstrous act.
Right, I see what you're saying, but what do you think of Cynthia's Now?
As for the dub performance, I actually really did like it, because she did kind of try and put that naive little bit of humanity into it, where you can tell the show kind of wants you to start sympathizing with her, but you really don't want to. And moving on to 21 and a half with Stephanie Young. I actually do kind of sympathize with her, because, you know, she's actually trying to keep her mother from attacking other people. Like, I can't agree with the idea of letting someone who is infected with this disease, where they're basically dead already. Like, that's kind of it's time to let go. kind of situations, but I do sympathize with her trying to do this in a way that other people won't get hurt. And as for Stephanie Young's performance, I really did kind of like it in that episode. And I do like the fact that you do actually see her in episode 22 at the very end in the sizzle.
Right.
Oh yeah, she did make it out. Yay. But the mom didn't.
Yep. At the end, just for some context, at the end credits, there is an after credit scene where we're on the bus getting our soda, and in the back we have the Tanaka siblings, and then this bus stops and they let on one of Ozuki's nurses. I don't remember her name off the top of my head.
The older woman one that gets kidnapped at one point to be food.
Yes, her. Natsuno's dad.
Idiot.
Unfortunately, we're not talking about.
I had
we're
a
not gonna
running
talk about
counter
him.
just called Natsuno's dad's an idiot, and I think I got it up to 5 before I stopped being a prominent character.
Yeah, and then we also have Kanami, who also makes it out of there as well.
Who's Kanami again? Oh, that's
Stephanie
right.
Young. The person
So,
we're talking about right
question,
now.
did they show what happened to her mom or no?
No. But
No,
I'll
they
be
did
getting
not.
to that in just a sec.
All right, yes, continue, please.
So, Dana Schultz is fucking scary.
I mean,
my god.
Holy
her
shit.
performance as Maeda, holy shit. And like now, she does something that I absolutely cannot sympathize with. And that was rat out the fact that that Kanami was keeping her Shiki mother at her
yeah.
house, which implies that, you know, the lynch mob came and killed her.
Yep,
And
right.
that's just... that pissed me off so much. Even more than her basically sitting with her son in the bathtub while he dies. Like, she is not a character you are designed to like. And I really like the dub performance of her, and I am ready to pass it on.
I'll just go real quickly, and I'll just save Amon last for this one. Yeah, I will agree that Dana is fucking scary. I'll also say this. Why is Dana not in more things and is more named characters? It's kind of sad, because I think for a one-shot character like this, it's a phenomenal performance, and I really wish I could see her in more stuff. She has done recent shows, sure, but nothing named character, which is kind of disappointing and sad. But yeah, she's very, very terrifying, and it was very crazy. It's very interesting with these two OVA episodes, and I kind of want to lead this into Hasegawa and Christopher Sabat. Each of the OVA episodes, you see two different sides on the human end. You see Hasegawa, who is, in my opinion, probably the most human character of the group, because he feels a sympathy and he mercy kills Ishiki, while everyone else around him is just going absolute
Blood for the blood god!
Exactly. Like, they're killing all these people, and some of it's indiscriminate, because one of the things in the OVA episode is Hasegawa's in the tunnels, and he's talking to his guy while they're staking the Shiki, and he tells them
Oh, I'm going after the ones that I don't like in real life, too.
exactly.
I liked when they were alive, too. I'm gonna have extra fun in killing them.
Exactly.
Yeah, that ends up well for him, doesn't it?
Oh no.
Oh yeah, no, that guy gets fucking staked, too.
I know, Megan, that was sarcasm.
But yeah, the Sabat, he plays probably the most human character of the show, who just feels he understands what needs to be done. He gets it. But at the same time, these creatures, they were also human once. They were trying to survive. So I love Chris Sabat's performance in this. It's just downright amazing. Because he doesn't outright condone what the Shiki have been doing compared to anyone else in the show. He does not condone their actions. Verbally, physically, nothing. But he doesn't 100% sympathize with them either. He's he's kind of in the middle, and he's kind of struggling with that for the majority of the episode. Well, on the opposite end, we have Maeda, who is basically cursing them to high heavens and has gone nuts and just wants the village to die by the end of that episode. So on the human end, those two OVA episodes show different sides when I say who is actually the monster in all this. Those two are a very interesting contrast when you look at those two OVA episodes, and those performances are just absolutely wonderful. Stephanie Young is Kanami. I only really included because she's an integral character in the second OVA episode alongside Maeda, but Stephanie has a really good performance as well, and she's such a strong woman, but she's also at a loss when her mother dies, and she's trying to figure out what to do and tries to protect her mother throughout all this chaos and make sure she doesn't attack anyone. And it's a very interesting performance seeing this strong woman just slowly soften up and become vulnerable.
God, when her mom, like, taps on the glass for her, I was like, oh, no!
Yeah. And then, Cynthia Crisis Now, when I reviewed this show a few years ago, one of the things I remember talking about, and I still agree with some of my thoughts back then, Now is one of those Shiki where the show wanted the viewer to be sympathetic towards, because we learned that Now's parents were alcoholic gamblers who abandoned her when she was 6 years old. All she's ever wanted was a loving family who cares for her, which she got, and then she ended up dead. So she tries to bring her family over with her so she can be with them forever, but it just doesn't work out. A lot of everything that's been everything so far, like Root saying he doesn't agree with her actions, and Megan saying Now wants to be with her family again, but her demons are catching up with her. I agree with both of you. Now is a character you can sympathize with, but only if you don't condone her monstrous actions. And Cynthia's performance in all of this is just downright amazing. It's one of those underrated performances from the show, because Cynthia plays Now as this sweet and kind woman who just wants her family, but she can also be fucking terrifying. But yeah, I enjoyed these performances a lot. So, bravo to you all. Amon, how do you feel about these 4 performances?
I think they're all very, very high quality. I liked what Savitt brought to Hasegawa. I thought he did a good job with kind of that sort of, he's very quiet and gentle, and then at the end just very like sad and heartbroken. To see all this happening to people who are, monsters of some sort, but are still people he knew. And unlike a lot of the other villagers, clearly cannot like separate those two aspects. And that is he was very good and heartbreaking. I like Stephanie Young a lot, especially just seeing her. It's like, Mom, you're back. Like, here, have some pudding, please eat. You're back.
Have this oatmeal.
Please have this oatmeal. And just start having to wrestle with the fact, like, all right, my mother's come back, but something's not right, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But I think as we made clear, the gold medal in this section goes to Cynthia and Dana for covering a lot of ground in not a lot of time.
Yeah.
I liked how Cynthia brought to Now. I thought she did well being, pleasant when she's alive, and then just descending into bitterness and anger after she dies, and just, to sort of the end where it's like, oh God, what have I done? I would say I'm not sure she's sympathetic, but I do think she's very tragic.
Okay.
Because she
that's an interesting point to make.
She feels very tragic because she's finally built up this family life she's happy with, and that gets ripped away from her, and she's presented with an opportunity to maybe get it back, and it just goes the worst possible way.
Not only that, she kind of blames herself for it because she's the one who said, "Oh, come on into my house," to a fucking drill hair man and a hooker,
which we'll get to in a minute.
I'm sorry. Chizuru looks like a fucking hooker.
Yeah, and I liked a lot of what Cynthia brought to that role. I thought she nailed all the right high beats. Particularly in, like, is it 20.5 that's her episode?
Yes.
Like, particularly in that, just like, oof. Oh boy. And Dana's also, oh boy.
Oh God.
Oh, Dana knocks it out of the park here. Just she just wants to keep her kids safe. And just not get put upon by her cranky, like, in-laws all that much.
Your mother-in-law,
and she
yeah.
can't
Please
even
tell
have
me that you watched the episode not on the airplane?
I didn't watch that one on the airplane. I got to watch that one not on the airplane.
Okay, good.
I watched the last episode on the airplane.
Oh no!
Oh.
Didn't you watch 18 on the airplane though?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I
Yeah,
watched,
that's the kind of
I
other
watched a
big,
good
like,
chunk
oh, fuck.
from, like 14 to I think 17 on an airplane. So that was fun.
No, the fact that Dana's just so memorable for just a one-shot character just speaks volumes. Not just it doesn't just speak volumes for her, but it also speaks volumes for the show itself.
Yeah, it's something that I wanted to bring up is our good friend, you might have heard of him, small-time internet reviewer, Glass Reflections. Yeah, that has been that hack.
Nice.
We love you, Tristan. I'm sorry, Art.
We love you, Art.
He actually called the OVAs of Shiki some of the best single episodes of anime he has ever watched.
Yes.
We don't know which one, but there's two options, so we're right at one point.
But say if I had to pick, I'd say 20 and a half.
Yeah, I think it's 20 and a half going by the footage he used in the episode, but I'll clarify when I see him.
I mean, no wrong answer.
No wrong answer either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I actually think that 21 and a half is stronger than 20 and a half.
Well, the only reason why I like 20 and a half more is because of that moral ambiguity.
Oh yeah, no, the moral ambiguity is great, but I also am going to like something that literally makes me so uncomfortable that I felt like I was
get you.
gonna
I
puke.
just feel like it had a more stronger sense of the show's themes compared to the other OVA episode. That's why I really like that episode compared to the other one. Any other thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, Dana's real good, and I did a little like very brief research as to why she's not in more things. I think she does a lot of like theater acting in Dallas. So I suspect it's just she's busy.
Yeah, that would do it.
Because she's definitely got the chops to be a lead. I suspect she just doesn't have the time to be a lead.
That would do it.
Yeah. Anyways, but that's my thoughts.
Understandable. You ready to move on?
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Let's move on to those Kirishikis. We're going to talk about the two owners of the Karimasa mansion who move into Sojiba at the start of the show. One is a Shiki, and the other we actually find out is a human who has aligned himself with the Shiki. So we have Seishiro and Chizuru Kirishiki. They are the quote-unquote parents of this,
The adults.
the adults and the parents of this child that we will be discussing later on. For Mr. Kirishiki, who is the human between the two, we have Mr. J. Michael Tatum, who has been in series such as Black Butler, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and Kami-sama Kiss. While Chizuru, who is the Shiki of the two, is voiced by Lydia McKay, who has been in series such as Shakugan Oshana, Trinity Blood, and Shin-chan.
Is this where I get to start talking about the crazy awful fashion and hair in this fucking show?
I mean, this is a good start as any.
Holy fucking shit. Shiki is what I'm going to assume as a cosplayer's worst fucking nightmare. All of the hair in the show makes god-awful sense. I mean, please look at the image on your screen if you are watching this and not just listening to the audio of one Mr. Seishiro Kirishiki. Literally, you could start hanging things off of his hair. And Chizuru, at points, literally goes out dressed like a hooker.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a part where Dr. Ozaki goes to the government office.
Yes.
That has been converted and filled with Shiki. So that the Shiki can basically make it look like nobody in the town has died. They've all moved away. And therefore died when they got out of town. And she snaps and is laying on this, like, couch thing that, like, it looks like the draw me like one of your French girls couches from Titanic. Like,
yes.
in glittering gold ribbon only.
Pretty
Functional,
much.
bitch! I know, I guess I'll just start then, right?
Go ahead at this point. You're already on a roll.
Alright, so I'm gonna start off with Seishiro, to which, J. Michael Tatum is probably the perfect English casting for this, because, oh my god, I can't believe this is how we're gonna mention this guy for the first time. How many of you know about J-Rock and J-Pop? Or mostly J-Rock?
Me!
A little bit.
Would you believe that Seishiro Kirishiki is the first Seiyu voiceover role that Gact ever did?
No, that's pretty believable. Slightly surprising it took until 2010, but believable.
For all of you who are wondering who Gact is, he is a famous Japanese musician, I think mostly known for doing guitar. But he is also kind of, I think, I don't want to say it's if he's associated with Visual Kei. But basically he is a really, really famous Japanese singer, songwriter, record producer, and acting. Yes, he was part of a Visual Kei rock band called Malice Miser. But essentially a lot of people kind of know him for being just like this crazy, like, huge Japanese magician. Japanese musician, not magician. Though you would think he's magic on his mic, on his guitar. But in terms of being a Seiyu, he did have a character in Final Fantasy Dirge of Cerberus, and Crisis Core designed after him. Yeah, but Shiki was, basically his first regular voice casting role. But yeah, no, Tatum was deliciously hammy as, Seishiro, Kirishiki, who is this very over-the-top flamboyant character who has a lot of depth to him, too, because he gets into this one conversation with Natsuno later on, and I think this is probably one of the coolest things about Shiki, is that not everybody can be turned into a Shiki.
Yes.
And, he's one of the people who couldn't, because they tried it on his dad, and he's got this very interesting, albeit small arc about trying to overcompensate for his dad's toxic masculinity. But he can never become a Shiki because they bit his dad and his dad never rose up. So I like the idea that being a Shiki is genetic. And then, oh boy, Chizuru is delightfully like, oh god, what's the name, like, does anybody else know of a movie called, I think it's called Pleasantville?
The one where they go into like
heard of
the 50s TV show thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
She and her performance reminds me of, like, something very stereotypical out of that, like 1950s mom persona.
Okay.
Very, very June Cleaver.
Yes. Which is all the more freaky that she's a blood-sucking hooker-looking vampire. And there is also this weird sense of childishness to her, but goddamn when she gets fucking bamboozled by Dr. Ozaki, and she starts screaming for her life.
Because here's the key part. Up until that point, Chizuru is basically,
thinking that she's hypnotized Dr. Ozaki.
Correct. She's been drinking his blood and getting him to do a bunch of things. And
he's been playing along because...
He's been playing along the entire time, but he then takes her to the Kagura dance and uses her to expose to the village what the hell has been going on, making her technically among the first casualties on the Shiki side for this lynch mob.
Yeah. She is the one that Dr. Ozaki uses to convince the rest of the town that the Okiagari, which is the term that they were using, it is their urban legend in Sotoba, the Okiagari are, in fact, real and living among them. And she actually gets taken out by the dad of her first victim because revenge is a dish best served cold. And you kind of want to sympathize with her because she used to just be a housewife during World War II, but she's obviously got no sense of remorse for what she's doing. Until she bites it. And Seishiro just kind of goes around trying to get revenge, and he goes off the hook because he clearly loved her like a husband. And I think that Tatum and Lydia McKay really played off of each other well. Because there are times where they have to go around being a weird, wacky couple. And I know Ark in his review compared Seishiro a lot to Isaac and Bakano. A very similar performance. Yeah. And hell yeah, if Isaac was a vampire sympathizing psychopath, this would be essentially his character.
Pretty much.
But I think I've talked too much, and I'm gonna pass it on to whoever the hell goes next.
I'll go next and save the boys for last. yeah, there's not a lot to be said about Tatum's performance as Seishiro. It's deliciously hammy and wonderful. Again, it kind of boils down to how well the series portrays its characters. And in the case of Seishiro, just wanting to be a Shiki, but he can't. So he just works with them and does what he can to protect them as this human figure for them. And Tatum is just as hammy and campy as all hell, and it's just great. But I think the real winner for me here is Lydia McKay. Cause her Chizuru is she's very seductive in a way. Flaunts her assets very well, but she's also seductive in her words and her actions. Cause she quote unquote seduces Dr. Ozaki. And you actually believe he's under her control, but there are hints where you can tell he isn't. But Chizuru is also pretty tragic in her own right, because she just wanted to have a life. Again, with many of the Shiki like Chizuru, they didn't have the choice. It's a big point they bring up with her and with Sunako, that they did not have the choice as to whether they want to be Shiki or not. So Lydia McKay, she was... Oh my god, she was, I loved every second of it. She was such an innocent child in her own way, but she's also very tragic in her own way as well, and Lydia portrayed those sides very well.
She met the hammer of justice.
Oof.
She did. And, you know what? I actually wouldn't be surprised if there is fan fiction of her Dr. Ozaki. Because some people just want to see that ship sail for some reason.
Oh, trust me, there's a ship in this show, and I will sail it until it kills me.
I know you will. You said this over and over again.
Gentlemen, it's been an honor podcasting with you tonight.
But anyway, yeah, I enjoyed both of these performances, but I think Lydia was the standout between the two. Amon, how do you feel about these two characters?
I like them both a lot. I agree. I thought Lydia did a wonderful job. She's just so much fun. She's out there being kind of just casually, not evil, but like terrible, because she's going around hypnotizing people and killing them, and behaving like she just got out of a high fashion show in New York. And she's just a delight to listen to. But I also like that, when we see her like before she became a Shiki, she brings this very nice gentleness in these few bits we see where she was just, some housewife with a loving husband, which he quite liked, and then all got taken away from her. I thought I enjoyed her a lot, and I also enjoyed Tatum. He was very fun. He was very hammy. He makes me wish there was more anime that was that had this kind of like classic European gothic horror bent to it, because he's really good at it. And usually when you get vampires in anime, they tend to be Hellsing, which isn't gothic so much as violent.
Bloody and gory violence. That's Hellsing.
Yeah, this is pretty. This one's pretty gothic up until about episode 20, when it takes a hard right into action horror. But up until then, I just enjoyed sort of the grandioseness he brought when he's, hello neighbor, I'm out here with my 4 Dobermans. How are you doing?
Those fucking dogs.
just out for a run.
Oh my god, I did not understand what the Dobermans thing was. And then I saw that and I was like, what the fuck?
It's because it's a gothic horror story. What's a gothic horror story without
Because
dangerous
why
dogs
the fuck not?
that might eat you?
Is it really bad that... Okay, so there's like a scene where the Shiki kidnap one of the nurses from Dr. Ozaki's clinic. And at night, and I actually really appreciate this about the show, for a full-figured woman who wears basically a panty, a bra, and like a nightgown like slip, where she gets chased by the Dobermans in the woods after 2 of the Shiki let them escape because one refuses to drink blood and the other one finally gives in to his her and goes out with her, and so she's getting chased around the woods. How many of us have seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yeah.
I mean,
Roots?
Let's face facts here. Who hasn't?
We all have.
Who
Okay.
hasn't?
You know the part where Riff Raff like tries to burn Rocky and he escapes and starts running around the castle?
Yeah.
You know the synthesizer music for when the wolves are chasing Rocky?
Is that what was playing in your head?
Yep. I want someone to take that music to her getting chased by the dogs and put it together for use. But you know the exact music I'm talking about
Oh,
too,
God.
aren't you? You're all hearing it right now.
Yeah.
the
We've
best- some
probably
of the
all
best
been to
scored-
midnight showings. We've all made the jokes.
The only I kind of want to watch Rocky Horror with you guys now at AB just so we can do the call-outs because they're fucking amazing.
Nice. Anyway, any more thoughts on,
No, but they're both real good.
Okay, Roots!
So, I'm actually kind of legit surprised.
By what?
I hope they didn't need those sets again, because those scenes... Because all that scenery is just chewed up.
Yes!
Like, both of them are just glorious hams. Like, not just Tatum, but Lydia McKay as well. I love both of the performances, even if the characters themselves are like, probably the group you are designed to sympathize with the least in the entire show.
Right.
Well, you know what? Somebody will get to, I think, in the next group. Probably takes that trophy and runs with it, but...
You're probably
But,
right.
Oh, I know who you're talking about in the next crew.
Like, I love Tatum's, like, Rough Rider personality, especially in the end where he's just shooting everybody up with his high-powered rifle.
Dear God.
And then,
Oh, that was the best.
and then, Lydia's character... Sorry, I am really bad with names, but in any case,
Chizuru.
just her character sauntering around, just in the most impractical outfits imaginable. And she's just seducing just about... Okay, you know what? One of my favorite lines in the whole show is where she's basically explaining to Dr. Ozaki that the only people she will feed on are, like, virile young men.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But, in any case,
Ooh, baby.
both actors played their parts very, very well, and I will, Oh, wait, I'm the last person, so I'm
Yeah, you are
ready
the last
to move
person.
on.
Oh, boy. Oh, God. Are we ready to talk about one of those characters we wanted to punch in the face? And thankfully, Megumi did that for us on several occasions.
Megumi did it like, okay, yo, yes.
Alright.
That is like, okay, this character's death is the single most satisfying moment in the whole show.
Even if it's off screen.
No, for who did it, I don't give a shit it was off screen.
It's great. So the next two characters we're going to talk about, we have Masao Murasako. Oh god, this motherfucker, he
looks like he got hit with the ugly stick.
I mean,
10
he
times
he
over.
looks like someone took Robert Smith and just stretched him out really badly.
So basically, Masao is a whiny little shit who only cares about himself. He ends up being turned into a Shiki, of course. Cause of course you want to.
Of course this fucking guy gets to live.
And the other person we're going to discuss is Ritsuko Kurihiro. She is a nurse at the Ozaki Clinic. Later on, we do find out she does have feelings for another character we're going to discuss later.
Not even try. You don't. Nope. Show fuck off.
We'll get to your ship, Megan. We'll get to it.
Megan, all these ships are doomed to fail. It doesn't matter.
And it kind of just
Even the
brings
Titanic got halfway across before it went down. Holy shit, that was awful.
Yep. And just kind of just bring this up as well, because Megan briefly mentioned it before, too. Ritsuko does get turned into a Shiki. However, she is the one who refused to drink blood.
She went down like a fucking champ.
She went down like a champ. Oh my god.
Like, bitch went down like a fucking champ.
Fucking martyr shit. Okay, anyway. The individuals who are voicing these characters. I'm gonna start with Ritsuko. Ritsuko is voiced by Colleen Clinkerbeard, who you've heard in series such as Baccano, Case Closed, and Fullmetal Alchemist. Meanwhile, Masao is voiced by Todd Habercorn, who has been in series such as Fairy Tail, D. Gray Men, and Owen High School Host Club.
Can I go first?
Roots!
Oh, never mind.
No, I was gonna have Roots go first. I'm making things fun and interesting. Roots, can you tell me your thoughts on these performances, please?
Masao.
That's one way to start.
What
Masao
a
deserved to die.
fucking weasel.
Little douche nugget.
But I really like the I like that Todd kind of adds a certain level of slime to him.
Yeah.
Like the character itself, you can kind of, I don't want to say I sympathize with him, but I kind of see where the fact that he is a little shit comes from. Where basically he was like the only child for like the longest time, and then his dad, I guess, remarried or something. And then he had a little
No.
brother.
He's
his
not an
story
only
was-
child. He has an older brother.
Oh, right. And then it's his wife. And...
He has an older brother, aka Robert McCullum.
Gotcha. Okay. That.
It's the old man that's actually their dad.
Right. Like it's kind of the new.
The dad makes it through, right? I think the dad.
Yes, the dad does. Yes, the dad, the older brother, and the sister-in-law.
It's just him and the nephew.
Correct.
Oh, because they also had a niece. He also had a niece, so I guess she also was one of the ones that made it.
No, I don't remember there being a niece.
It's hard to keep
but,
track of the body count in this show.
It's hard to keep track of these characters. That's what the problem is here.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, he's an uncle as a teen, and he's not old enough to accept the responsibility of being an uncle. Like, I can kind of see that, but he's just the most punchable shit. And I really like Todd Haberkorn's performance. Now, Ritsuko, on the other hand, she's really sweet, and I really enjoy Colleen Klinkenbeard's performance. Especially at the end where she's locked up and she's turned. Sun's starting to come in. She's just like, you know what? I'm out. I'm not doing this. Fuck all y'all. I'm burning to a crisp.
Yeah.
She doesn't even burn. She gets staked in the end.
True.
Yeah.
So it means that not only did she probably, like, willingly got staked, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because judging by her face, she willingly got staked, and so did who she died with.
Yes.
Hand in hand, but that ain't changing fucking shit, show.
We'll get to it, Megan. Calm down. Roots, continue your thoughts, please.
That's basically it. I like what both of them added to the performance, and I will pass it on.
All right, Amon, can you go next, please?
Yes, I enjoyed these two a lot for different values of enjoyed. Todd is just so slimy. Masa is not a tragic figure, but the fact that he gets turned into a Shiki and not other more deserving people, perhaps, is a tragedy in of itself. It's all very ironic.
You're not
I
wrong!
feel like that's sort of the point. It's like, you know, poor Now, who is the only person in her entire family who rises up, gets nothing, but Masao's got the gene? So unfair. But
Genetics is a hell of a thing.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
But Todd was just delightful in this. I sometimes forget that Todd actually has a lot of, like, range in character. In my mind, he occasionally gets lumped in with, like, oh, he's a shonen dude, right? But he's just so wonderful. It's just this slimy little weasel who's clearly not cut out to be a vampire, but I guess he is. Oh, well. You're never going to be good at this, and you're going to get stabbed by your sister-in-law when you come crawling back home. Whoops.
The
Whoops.
best part is that she fucking took him out.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was.
And she did it by being sneaky.
It's like...
It was completely off screen because Masao was trying to find some place to hide before he accidentally falls asleep. He ends up going home. His sister-in-law is there changing because she's been dealing with all these dead bodies and
she's been, like, straight up, like, super chill about fucking offing people.
yeah.
It's like, you-
But she lets him in and she's like, "It's okay, Masao, we're family." And she has this fucking metal
She has, like,
pipe
a fucking
ready.
pickaxe.
She's ready to go, and it was beautiful.
You dumb rube. She doesn't like you.
And she has no reason to, by the way, because he is a fucking asshole to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but Todd was delightful. He's such a good little weasel. It's wonderful. I liked it so much. And I really enjoyed Colleen's performance. You know, she was fine up until the end of the show, but once Ritsuko gets turned, and she's basically going like, "Oh, you had to eat people to survive? You had to? Fuck your had to." I'm gonna sit here and starve like a good person.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
die like
I'm gonna die like I
good
live
person.
being a good person.
Scruff is
but I
gonna
will
die
remember
the
my
same
morals.
way he lived.
Yep. I'm gonna die with my boots on. Starving and with my boots on. No, she was great. I liked her a lot, especially in that like that stretch in the last like what 5-6 episodes, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was great. I liked her a lot.
Our Lord and Savior, Colleen Clinkenbeard.
Clinkenbeard.
Our Lord and Savior, Ritsuko Kunihiro. Megan, how do you feel about these two performances?
Let's get. I want to spend a little bit more time on not Tanaka. I'm sorry. Whoopsie. Masao than Ritsuko. Ritsuko is a really great character for this type of show. She is the one that she doesn't know what's going on. When she does become aware of it too, she doesn't change who she is and she does not compromise. That she is a good fucking person. Like, she is selfless to a flaw. And that flaw is, selfless. And that selflessness kind of helps take another character out of his selfishness and stuff. And honestly, when they find when her body and that character's body were brought out, I think that's when I almost started to cry. Her being turned actually, I think, was the most emotional for me. Because she kind of was, she saw now, and she didn't know how to process it. And her sister and her mom were kind of being turned too. And she gets turned not because someone she knew lured her in, but because she was going to save the other nurse. So when she's presented with having to eat one of her best friends, and her colleague, I think the line is, I didn't become a nurse not to hurt people. I became a nurse to save people. And I think Colleen really carried that in her performance. I do wish that the show maybe gave a better indication on how old Now was. Because sometimes it's like, is Colleen sounding a little bit too much?
Ritsuko.
Ritsuko, not Now. Sorry, Ritsuko. I get a lot of characters confused.
There's a lot of characters.
Yeah, Ritsuko's age isn't really defined, so I can't say if Colleen sounds too old or too young, but I don't think that really matters in this case because she's captured the spirit of the character so much. Mm-hmm. And that sometimes I think can trump someone sounding a little too old or a little too young when the character's own age is not made apparent. Moving over to Masayo, holy cow! I think a lot of people forget how much fun it is to watch Todd Haberkorn play a slimy weasel.
Yeah.
Because everyone is so, like, everyone online is like, oh, I love Todd as Alan. I love Todd as Natsu. It's like, nah, fam, that's the small brain. The big enlightened brain meme knows that some of the best Todd Haberkorns are his slimy, weaselly motherfuckers, like Prince Raj from Snow White with the Red Hair.
Yes.
And I think for me, kind of the defining moment for Masao is very early on for one character's, his versions of the funeral between his nephew and his friend. Where he didn't care that his nephew died because his nephew was taking away all of his family's attention, and no one really cared about him. And then when he goes to his friends, he gets mad that Natsuno is there, and that they're okay with Natsuno, and he's like, I cared about him too, what about me? And they tell him to leave.
Yes.
And Natsuno always feels like everyone's abandoning him, and that he's, and you kind, like, the show tries to make you sympathize with him, but you don't, because he's a slimy, weaselly motherfucker, who, upon his first realization that he is awake, he asks if his nephew is, and when he says no, he smiles. There is no redeeming quality to Masao as a character. And that's why it's so fitting that his sister-in-law is the one to off him.
Yeah.
And I think that Todd's kind of like final lines in the show of being a slimy, pathetic weasel really carried through, and he also carried the spirit of through him. I don't think Todd Haberkorn's a slimy, pathetic weasel in real life. He's not, but he's really good at playing them. And this again shows. And I think 2010 is right around when Todd Haberkorn is starting to become, like, kind of a bigger name, I think, right?
In the whereabouts, yeah. I think this is, like, right
so
before
this is kind of before Todd becomes, like, super huge like he is now. So If you want to see, like, early, like, Todd Haberkorn has always had it, and so has Colleen. And if you want to go back and watch, like, oh yeah, they've only become bigger because of Fairy Tail, come back and watch a show like Shiki where they're playing characters that are very much not like Urza and Natsu. Because these two are, I think, some of the farthest departures from, I think, characters that a lot of people know for, like, mainstream stuff.
Yeah, I 100% agree on all points. Colleen is the sweet cinnamon roll, too good and pure for this world. She's the martyr in the latter bits of the show. And especially for another character we will get into a little while. And Colleen just plays this beautifully. Her selflessness and her dedication to just want to save people, it's just really, really wonderful. I think that Ritsuko and Hasegawa are probably the most human of these characters, and especially Ritsuko, considering she does end up becoming Shiki, and she refuses to feed off of people. And then Tada's Masao. I think I only wrote one note, and it reads as follows. Todd is such an asshole. Because Masao is such an asshole. You can tell very early on that Masao is going to be one of those characters you love to hate, or you just downright hate.
When Megumi beats the shit out of him in the woods, it's probably one of the best parts of the show.
Whenever Megumi beats him up, it's great. But one of the very early moments where you can tell he's a very troubled child and very selfish is the flashback to his interaction with his then soon-to-be sister-in-law. He's like, do you hate me? Everybody hates me. It's only natural that you would hate me too. And the sister-in-law is like, nah, I'll make that judgment call when it comes, but I think we should just give this a shot, you know? It's like she's genuinely trying. And Masao's like, yeah, okay. And he hates her ever since then for some reason, because he's just a selfish, spoiled little shit. But Todd plays a wonderful, selfish, spoiled little shit. And like everyone else has said at this point, you don't get to see Todd play that character type often enough. I mean, another example of a slimy little shit, and it's oh so wonderful and hammy to me, is Sword Art Online.
You get
Why
that
did you
evil
have
out of
to
this
bring
house,
that
Ricky
up?
Bobby.
How dare you?
I have to bring the evil into this house, Ricky Bobby, because that's actually one of those performances in that show that I actually love because it is so fucking slimy. It's beautiful, honestly, for her show. Sword Art Online is shit. For a dub, it's meh. Todd Haberkorn in the dub for Sword Art Online, holy fucking shit. It's a sight to behold, honestly. But Masao here, motherfucker got what he deserved. I think he got what he deserved, honestly.
Yep.
As far as I can tell, there's nothing redeeming about this kid at all, so whatever. You win some, you lose some, I guess. Ready to move on?
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Tanaka siblings. We're going to talk about Kaori Tanaka and Akira Tanaka.
A cat boy who isn't a cat boy, and flower hair.
Pretty much.
Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about Ritsuko's Rapunzel fucking ponytail.
Anyway, so the Tanaka siblings, they are introduced very early on, with Kaori in particular, because she is quote unquote Megumi's friend, Megumi Shimizu's friend, who we'll get to very shortly.
In air quotes.
In air quotes, only because Megumi doesn't really see you as
Megumi fucking hates everybody.
Megumi hates everybody. Kaori and Akira, they are two characters who very early on have suspicions about what's going on with the recent deaths in the village. And at least for the first half of the show, they do try and help Natsuno try and discover what's going on and figure out how to resolve it. As for the actors who are voicing these characters, Kaori Tanaka is voiced by Alexis Tipton, who you may have heard in other work such as Baka and Test, The Vision of Escaflowne for the Funimation dub, and Yurikuma Arashi. As for Akira Tanaka, we have Lucy Christian, who has been in series such as Aria, The Scarlet Ammo, Clannad, and Fullmetal Alchemist. I'll get my thoughts out of the way first. These two, they're very good performances. The characters themselves can be kind of forgettable sometimes. Though, to be fair, Cowdy. Oh my god, did she lose her ever fucking mind? Cause towards the end of the show.
Oh god, where she offs her own dad with a bat and a shovel.
Oh god, cause towards the end of the show, her dad is dead and is risen as a Shiki. Her mom is dead, and Akida's gone missing. So it's just her and the dog. So while she's barricaded herself in their house, she hears someone trying to get in. She realizes it's her dad as a Shiki. And just all of a sudden, stone cold face, eyes wide, just kills him. It's insane. And one of the last scenes you see her and Akira in is in a hospital bed in the next town over. And she's just sitting there, zoning out, just spacing out. Meanwhile, we have Natsuno off to the side. She doesn't acknowledge him or anything.
My thing is in that scene because of another line. I don't know if I want to reveal this part about Natsuno yet, but I feel like it just kind of may clarify that scene. Another character says to Natsuno that he's had blood recently, so his powers are a little bit better. So my guess is that he may have taken from Kaori.
No.
Okay.
Incorrect. It's basically implied that he not only took blood from Dr. Ozagi to prevent Chizuru's full control over him, but he also took blood from Mr. Kirishiki.
That's right. Because he hypnotizes Mr. Kirishiki.
That's it right there. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, and Natsuno is another animal entirely. With Alexis and Lucy's performances here, I enjoyed them. They were fun. They were innocent. They were disturbed at points. But the characters themselves, compared to a lot of other characters and performances, are unfortunately just not as memorable to be. And I think that's more on the fault of the characters themselves and how they were written, compared to how Alexis and Lucy performed them. But my question is, how the fuck did Akira get out of his situation?
I believe the implication is Natsuno showed up.
Yeah, Natsuno
and,
gets him out.
Helps.
I'm about to say, that's the implication, yeah, but the problem is...
It's a plot hole because in the original series, Akira doesn't get out.
Aha! That explains a lot of things then. Did not know this.
Yeah, he in the original series, from what I looked up, he doesn't get out, and I believe in the original series, oh god, I guess we're spoiling this. I believe in the original series, Natsuno also doesn't get turned into a Jinro.
Really?
I'm gonna double check this. It's
We'll talk about more about Natsuno later, and you can bring it back up then. But yeah, for me, I love the performances from Alexis and Lucy. The problem is the characters weren't memorable compared to some of the others. Amon, how do you feel about Alexis and Lucy as the Tanaka siblings?
I share your feelings. They are not as standout as a lot of the other characters we've been talking about. I think in part because they show up a little bit less. I think just because they're a little younger, they don't have as much rich inner life as like some of the adults do. Because Kaori is not a bitter, not just a walking personification of bitterness like Megami. But I thought they did a very solid job. And I did particularly enjoy Alexis's turn in like the last third of the series, from being like concerned older sister to like, Mr. Senshin, can you give me a posthumous name? I've dug my grave already. I'm here in my dirty tracksuit. I might die soon. Can you help me so I may rest eternally?
Oh,
yeah, because she basically
after
spends the last third
She's
worried
going
that
to
Megami's gonna kill her
me.
because she had the audacity to like speak to Megami's not boyfriend. Megami's the worst. Let's say it. We'll talk about that more in a bit.
Megami's
The
terrible.
worst. So I did like that turn a lot, but I thought they were both very solid, even if they were not given as much to do compared to like a lot of the other characters.
Okay. Roots, how do you feel about the Tanaka siblings?
Yes, the Scooby Gang. Like I
mean,
would do
where's the lie?
I do my Shaggy impression again, but I've already done that in Hyoka and Devilman Crybaby, so.
do it again.
Like Zoink Scoob! Gotta get to the Vampire Mansion!
Can you just do it, but Zoinks Natsuno?
Like zoinks, Natsuno!
Yay!
Now let's take off the mask and find out who the villain really is.
It's society.
Oh man, Jenkins!
Wow.
Okay. I gotta get off the joke. I gotta get off the joke. I really like the two of them, despite really not having a meaty role in the show. They're just kind of there to be the victims when they need to be. More or less. They're there to instigate the vampire attacks. They're there to be kidnapped, and Natsuno has to go and save them and whatnot. I really liked it, and I'm usually not a fan of Lucy Christian as like older teen boys, but
He's in like middle school.
Yeah, he's like middle school age.
Still kind of a bit on the old side, but I really did like her in this. Like, this and Oron were the two roles that I'm kind of like, okay, she can work as, like, a middle school age boy.
Yeah.
And I really do like Alexis Tipton, especially at the end of the show when she's sorry, I'm looking up names. She's, like, at the temple begging Moroi for a posthumous name because she's not very good at it.
Yep.
Like, even though she doesn't get to do much, she is a really good character, and Alexis Tipton plays her really well.
Megan, I think you're the last person to share their thoughts.
I really like them. I think that he is really, really interesting. They are really, really interesting as kind of like the victims. I think I do agree with the fact that I do wish they were around a little bit more, because obviously there's the one part where Akira finally gets it in his head that he's going to try to do what all the adults end up doing later on, which is, well, if they sleep during the day, I'm just going to go fucking kill one in their sleep.
Yep.
His only downside was he forgot about a cat ears, a hair shaped like cat ears male stripper running around.
Oh, I love Tatsumi. I'm sorry.
No one expects the stripper inquisition. But I think Lucy Christian did a really good job catching kind of a prepubescent boy who's trying to protect his older sister. But goddamn, Alexis! Like, she has kind of a country girl accent. And it kind of reminds me at times, only because I'm like one of the four... Hey, the other two people who watch the show with me are here. It sometimes kind of reminds me of Mirere Toshiro from Token Rambu a little bit in her mannerisms. That's the one character that it kind of reminds me of, except for Mirere is a guy, though they make no attempts to give her a male-sounding voice at all, because he looks like a little girl. But I think for me, yeah, the scene that really got me is when she comes crawling up to Moroi and is begging for a posthumous name.
Posthumous.
And she's just kind of on the verge of, like, panic attack crying.
Yep.
And then she finally gets it in her to go whack her dad off. But the other scene that really gets me is when she's sitting in her room against the window and Megumi comes to taunt her.
Oh, yeah, when her dad just dies. Yeah.
It's like, oh, look, your dad's dead. And she, like, gets up and runs. And you're like, well, fuck, man.
Somebody give the poor girl a hug and a fruit roll-up.
And a Capri Sun. She's earned that Capri Sun.
She has earned the Capri Sun.
But yeah, no, that's all I gotta say on these two, because I think we're finally at Fun Town.
Oh, from this point on, things are gonna be really interesting.
This is where shit's gonna hit specifically this group.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how these two are together, actually.
Oh, let's just get it out of the way. Fuck Megumi!
So basically, from this point on, the characters we're gonna discuss have very large roles in the show. And the first two we're gonna talk about, one among them is the first of the victims in this whole Shiki situation.
Was she really a victim, though?
Shut up, Megan. I'm working on stuff here. We have Megumi Shimizu, who is a 15-year-old girl who really just wants to get a sotoba and is seen among the village as rather weird because she dresses strangely compared to the other villagers. But she becomes a Shiki, and as you can obviously tell from discussions we've had so far, Megumi is a bitch.
Still a better love story than Twilight.
It's so true. She also has a huge crush on Natsuno Yuki to the point where she is a goddamn stalker. And then the other character we're going to talk about is one Mr. Toromuto, who is Natsuno's best friend.
I will go down with the ship.
Megan, hold your horses. Okay, so he's Natsuno's best friend, or should I say forced upon best friend.
He's Natsuno's only friend.
Natsuno's only friend,
Forced
yeah.
upon. Wow.
Well, Natsuno doesn't want to be attached to anyone in the village, but he manages to get very attached to Toru. Toru, unfortunately, also becomes a casualty as he is killed by Megumi, hence the end of episode 4 where she comes crawling up from under the bed.
Bitch!
He also then becomes a Shiki, and he goes on to... And we may as well say this because it does involve him. He ends up killing Natsuno halfway through the show. And Toru's main conflict throughout the course of the show is his mentality when it comes to killing people in order to survive. He's the other character who is involved with Ritsuko, because when Ritsuko doesn't want to feed, Toru is actually outside begging her to feed so she could survive. And Ritsuko is the one who convinces him otherwise and change his mindset, with the two of them dying together. And before Megan jumps in, I do have to say this. It is heavily implied that Toru has a crush on Ritsuko, and she ends up returning those feelings. However, Megan is under the impression that Toru and Natsuno are a thing.
Are the best couple in this show. Fuck you, I'm right.
It's heavily implied that the ship could happen very easily.
Run away with me, Toru!
Oh, anyway. The individuals voicing these characters. As the voice of Megumi Shimizu, we have Miss Tia Ballard, who has been in series such as Devil is a Part-Timer, Kami-sama Kiss, and Shangri-La. Meanwhile, Toramuto is voiced by one Mr. Chris Burnett, who's been in series such as Romeo x Juliet, Big Wind-Up, and Fafner, Heaven and Earth. I don't know how I want to start this. I do know I want to go last, because one of these characters is...
You have a history!
I have a history, one of
Can
these...
I go first?
Go first.
Yay! Man, no matter how hard you try, show, I am not shipping Toru Ritsuko. No matter how you try. I was so upset when Toru got killed by Megumi. So, I'm like, sitting there, I'm like, if you've watched the first opening of the show, by the way, almost everyone who turns into a skull gets turned into a Shiki of some sort. Or dies. At least. So, one of the people who gets turned into a skull is Toru, so I mean, I knew he was coming back because no one's that pretty and stays dead in a show like this.
You're not wrong.
Fuck you, show, for using my ship against me. But Chris Burnett did a fantastic job. And you sometimes, like, you don't remember that this guy is such a good voice actor because you're just used to seeing him at GameStop trying to hork your game. Hawk your game.
True.
By the way, I'm very fully convinced that we actually did see him at Funimation in the hallway.
Seriously?
Yeah, I think I saw him when we were in there.
Oh.
I don't remember.
Because I'm the only one who saw him. That means I'm either high, and I don't do marijuana, or I'm crazy. That's debatable.
Or he's a vampire. Have we
Or he's
looked
a
into that
vampire.
possibility?
Well, I don't know. He doesn't... Wait. Anyway. But no, like, Toru ripped my heart out. Chris Burnett, like, fucking tore my heart out, showed it to me, and stomped on it.
Yeah.
Not only when he's, like, trying to hunt down and he doesn't want to hurt Natsuno, and when he's leaving the flowers at his window.
Yeah.
And then when he goes to see Sunako, because Sunako's like, Sunako likes you, like, Sunako's got you in her eyes. But for me, again, like, the biggest thing is when he's screaming at Ritsuko to eat. And he's like, I had to do it! they were gonna kill my family. It's like, yeah, and you still had the choice, and you still did it. You could have just starved. And you just feel awful for this guy. Because he's a good person. He's not judgmental. He and Ritsuko were honestly the two nicest people in the village. They didn't judge anybody, because he was even friends with Masaho.
Yeah.
Yep.
He didn't judge, and that's why I think him turning into a monster is kind of the hardest
Yes.
to deal with.
But also very, very necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think he is, of all the Shiki, the most sympathetic. Him and Ritsuko
Agreed.
are the two most sympathetic. And I think, honestly, and I'll talk about this when we talk about the three people who we're talking about got turned into, or at least the two on screen that we get to see turned into Jinro. My theory behind that, but like when he's crying, it is some of the most gorgeous shots in the show. And I think for me, the scene that really gets me in the show with him is when he bites Natsuno for the first time at the temple, at this little like shrine, and you hear him say, "Oh yeah, you see that bug? He's just always there. He's always a constant." And I think that's what describes Toru, is he was the constant in Natsuno's life and for the other teens in the village. And then seeing the constant get broken down to kind of a shell of himself and his morals is just disturbingly heartbreaking, and Chris Burnett nails that spirit. So does Tia Ballard being a massive motherfucking bitch. I liked it a lot. I thought she was a obnoxious, whiny teenager down to a T. She was a whiny little bratty bitch who thought she was better than everybody else and was going to use that to get out of her shitty life when she didn't have a shitty life. And then she still kept being a shitty little snot even when she was given immense power. Which is why when she gets to go to the first annual tractor pull...
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first annual Sotoba Tractor Pull.
Oh, God.
The only thing that would have made it better is if one of the tractors was driven by her dad.
On the red corner, the Wheat Chopper-O-Matic. On the blue corner, Megumi Shimizu.
Jesus.
Who will
Christ.
win?
Who would win? One bitchy girl, one tractory boy.
Anyway.
But I thought she was great, and it kind of... If that was the first... Like, I didn't have any real problems with it. I liked it a ton, and I know that some people here have a history, but I think that she nailed it, and she nailed being an annoying little bitch. And that's what Megumi is, an annoying little bitch. And no matter what the show would do, I will not sympathize with her because she keeps being an undercut bully. Like, she jumps at the fact that she's gonna kill Toru because she's jealous of a relationship she doesn't have because Natsuno fucking can't stand her.
Yep.
And then when Tatsumi uses it against her, because this is how to kind of explain how good Tatsumi is despite looking like the dumbest looking character in the show. When Tatsumi uses that against her to get her to kill the dad.
You mean Cowdy's dad?
Yeah, Cowdy's dad. And I find that she's a really big hypocrite too, because she wouldn't take out her own family, but yeah, she's like, haha, you all took out your families. But anyway, I liked them both a lot. Go.
I mean, just to throw this out there, her justification for not killing her family is she didn't want them on the other side with her.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I don't want them on the other side with me. I hate them. It's like, you're a bitch. You're being a hypocritical little bitch.
Roots, how do you feel about Tia and Chris's
First of
performances?
all, I'm sorry. I was going to make that tractor pull joke in my segment. I kind of... In any case, I'm going to start with Toru because I really like the character and his performance. He starts out the show kind of as like the dude bro friend. Always insightful, always has advice to give. And then he turns, and then he doesn't want to go through attacking Natsume. Like, several times he's given the opportunity to attack him, and he chooses not to until the very last moment when Megumi was about to. And then there's the speech at the end between him and Ritsuko that I just really like. I do have to say this, as much as I don't like the character of Megumi, there was one moment of Tia Ballard's performance that actually gave me chills.
Okay, what was it?
And that was when she was in Toru's room taunting.
Of course,
taunting
we're talking
Natsuko.
about this. Of
Where
course.
she's just standing there and she's just like, she's just pouting. Oh, you'll spend time with this guy, but you won't spend any with me. Just that ending line right there before she bites Toru in the neck. Like, that was just one of the most menacing things I heard in the dub until, damn you, old man. Damn you, old man.
Yes.
Like, you could just...
Yeah, no, that's this. Her crawling out from under the bed is what made me call Lilac and yell at her.
Yep.
Like...
She straight up called me. She was like, I hate you.
One thing horror dubs have a lot of problems with is conveying menace. Conveying, oh, I don't want to just kill you. I want to make this hurt. I want to make this bleed. And I think Tia Ballard did a really good job with that, particularly taunting Natsuno with eating Toru.
Amon?
Yeah, these two are really good. I think, as we've made clear, Megumi's awful. She's angry she lives in the sticks, and she's angry that the other people in the sticks aren't angry they live in the sticks. It's very bad. But Tia's like pitch perfect as this. She gives exactly the right performance for Megumi. Where like you can kind of understand where she's coming from, but she's just so consistently unpleasant about everything. Up to the point it's like, Megumi, you're about to die. Stop yelling about how you don't understand why they don't hate living in the sticks. You're not helping yourself. Give it a rest.
Well, she was gonna fucking die
Drop
anyway,
it.
so...
I know, and I just find it hilarious that, like, right up to the end, you're just complaining about how you live in the middle of nowhere. Okay. Alright, you're terrible. Have fun at the tractor pull. But no, she was really good, I thought. She nailed the, like, kind of petulant teenagerness, but when, they needed to pull out the menace, she could pull out the menace. And, I thought she did a very good job feeling like one of the very, like, credible townspeople who gets turned into a scary monster. I liked her a lot. And Chris Burnett was also wonderful as Toru. I'm not sure Toru's the most tortured of the Shiki, but he's the most, like, open about it the most often. And you can just feel Chris Burnett's just anguish. Like, I don't want to be a monster that eats people. But I feel like I have no choice but to be a monster that eats people. I'm not happy here. Why couldn't I have stayed dead? At least I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And I thought he did a wonderful job of bringing that forward for the character, and just making you feel, he does plenty of bad stuff as a Shiki, but I feel like of the Shiki, you feel some of the most for him, and what he just feels like is like this position he is stuck in, where he has so limited options. To the point where it's like, well, I'd rather I be the one to kill Natsuno than this lady, but I'm not happy about this. I'm just gonna leave flowers on his grave until the day I die. Oh, sad. Imagine a little teardrop going down my face. Poor guy.
Or bubbles of tears.
I mean, yeah, that's
a thing apparently. When they cry, it's bubbles of tears.
Every vampire
Also,
show
blood
needs a weird
tears,
artistic
which are
flourish.
Badass.
Blood tears. Dear God. Ugh.
Blood Tears is the name of my metal band.
Oh, are you good?
Yes.
Okay, I guess it leaves me. Oh boy. I'm gonna start with Toru first. Chris Burnett. Oh boy. Such a trooper. Chris Burnett in the beginning is very unsuspecting. Nice guy, wants to be your friend, popular guy. He gets killed, and then when you see him again interacting with Natsuno, holy shit.
Crying noises.
No, it's not that. When he's chasing Natsuno in the woods, and the exact note I wrote for this, Chris Burnett is in such pain attacking his friend. Those noises, man. There were points where it seemed like some of the noises that were coming from Toru were so primal. It was very terrifying, and you can tell that it hurt. That it hurt so much for Toru to attack his best friend, and it's like, ugh. Basically, like everyone else is saying, this is the character among the Shiki that you may feel the most sympathy for, and there's also his inner turmoil, the fact that he has to kill people to survive, or his family would be attacked if he didn't do it, he was told. So there's a lot of interesting complexity with Toru's character, and Chris Burnett just plays it so wonderfully. As for Tia Ballard as Megumi, I feel like it's story time.
Gather round.
So, when I watched this show a few years ago, I mentioned that Shiki was a show where I began to pick up on voice acting performances and certain actors. This show was actually my introduction to Tia Ballard as a voice actress, but not in the most positive light. Because I thought the performance was god-awful. It was obnoxious, it was grating, it was just bad. For me, it was one of the worst performances from the entire dub. Luckily, I've learned my fucking lesson since then.
Yay!
Because, for the longest time after seeing Shiki, I was so hesitant in seeing Tia Ballard in major leading roles. With, several performances she's had since then, not only did my opinion of Tia as an actress do a complete 180, but going back into Shiki, I actually love this performance now. It was less grating and obnoxious than how I felt the first time I watched it, but also, again, ladies and gentlemen, I learned my fucking lesson. It's more of the character, not Tia, that's the problem with it. It's the character of Megumi who's, obnoxious and a bitch and is just so selfish and wants to get out of here. And Tia is just really good at portraying that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, Tia, for ever doubting you. I'm sorry. But Megumi's a bitch. You voiced a very wonderful bitch. Like, it's great. Not only her selfish desires to her obsession over Natsuno. Her obsession over Natsuno. Oh boy, that was a fun time as well to see her portray. And like you were saying, Roots, when she appears in the Muto home and attacks Toru, and she's basically tormenting Natsuno as he's there, like, you spend all this time with him, but you never made time for me. Ooh, it's so creepy. I think originally when I watched the trailers before I got the show, it was that scene in particular that just gave me nightmares. I was just so freaked out, and then when I watched the show, I felt disappointed with Megumi, but now I've learned my fucking lesson.
I'll have to go back and watch the dub trailers on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, which is kind of hilarious because when we talk about a certain show from the winter season soon, ooh boy, I'm excited about it because I haven't even started the dub for it yet. But oh man, but yeah, both of these performances are very wonderful, and I'm so sorry, Tia, for ever doubting you. You were fantastic. Moving on. Oh, slowly getting it. We're gonna talk about two main Shiki from the show. We have Tsuneko Kurishiki. She is a little girl who, for all intents and purposes, among the large amount of Shiki, is the first to become one, and at such a young age, too. She is the mastermind and leader of the Shiki, and all she wants is just a safe haven for herself and all the Shiki, so she can just live a life. And then we have one of my favorite characters in the show, this motherfucker named Tatsumi. Tatsumi is a Shiki, specifically a Jinro, a subset of Shiki, who are vampires that are capable of passing off as humans. So they're okay in the sunlight, they can eat human food to survive, and they also have enhanced abilities such as strength and senses.
That you need to drink blood in order to do.
Correct. Tatsumi serves Tsuneko and the Kirishiki family, and he is the wrangler of the newborn Shiki and helps to take care of them. It's actually kind of funny because the person who voices Tatsumi is, this character is actually where I noticed this actor But before we get to that, to start off with, Sunako Kirishiki is voiced by Jeremy Lee, who has been in series such as Fairy Tail, the Viz Media dub of Sailor Moon, and Holic. And as for Tatsumi, we have a Mr. Ian Sinclair, who has been in series such as Bakuno, One Piece, and Sengoku Basara. Hey Amon, why don't we start with you? How do you feel about Jeremy and Ian's performances here?
I thought they both did a wonderful job. I like Jeremy a lot. I think she had one of the harder roles in the show because she's present throughout most of it, and then towards the back half you start getting a lot more of like what exactly is Sunoko's deal. Sunoco, it's a gas company.
That's a gas station.
Apparently, Sunako. You start getting a better sense of what her deal is. And, prior to that, Jeremy's been doing kind of, the creepy little girl voice, and it's been really effective. But after that, you start getting a lot more of, like, her humanity, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought she just brought that to the role so well. It's not often you get to play a character who starts off being, like, kind of creepy and menacing and ends just, like, bawling her eyes out all the time. Because she might actually die this time. And she's not sure she can deal with that. Especially in the end, she's like in the church asking, like, why did you just forsake me? I didn't want this to happen. I didn't choose this. Why did you abandon me, God? And it's like, it breaks your heart a little.
Dad.
It's just, it's rough. But she did a wonderful job. And Ian's a delight. He gets to... He's just a blast. Like, Tatsumi doesn't give any fucks. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's just going around, beating people up, fighting people, killing people, whatever. And he's like, hey, guy.
Walking around with the Doberman, helping them with the Doberman.
In increasingly ridiculous costumes. And he's just like, hey, guys. What's happening? You're gonna die.
What's up, man?
He's just wonderful throughout. Like, he's a blast. He might be my pick for, like, the most fun performance in the whole show, just because he's clearly having such a ball throughout the entire thing. He's a delight whenever he's on screen.
I'm gonna go next because I'm gonna completely fucking agree with you on Ian as Tatsumi. He probably had the most goddamn fun in the goddamn booth with this character. Because Tatsumi has these two different personas to him. He has this outward persona who,
Hey guys,
how's it going? It's nice to meet you. Can we come visit sometime? And then you have his true nature and persona, and the man is fucking terrifying if you cross him the wrong way. Like, if you disobey him, you're in fucking trouble, man. And Ian plays that so well. And it's actually really interesting because, and this is actually the first time I'm going to be getting to say this too. I watched some of the commentaries for Shiki, and one of them was episode 18, and it had Mike McFarland, Tata, Lydia Mackey, and Ian. And one of the things Mike had mentioned was the Seiyu actually had to play a similar performance to Ian, where he was this lighthearted fool, but also had to be menacing at points and use these different inflections and tones, and it was just really interesting. And Ian actually said that this is one of the first times he got to play this type of character. Again, Ian was one of those alongside Tia and one other we're going to get to very soon, where I just straight up wanted to know more about this actor. As for Jeremy, she plays a very good creepy little girl. Like Amon was saying, she has the she can be sympathetic, and you get an idea on her background and story later on, and there are points where you feel sorry for her, but there are also points where this has gone on long enough and she's basically just resigned herself to the fact that she should just die. And but she's convinced otherwise by our next character that we'll discuss. But yeah, Jeremy. Oh god, Jeremy. There are points where I want to hug this little girl, but there are also points where it's like, I want to kill you. It's a hard decision, like, how should I feel about this? But, I really enjoyed Cherry's performance as Sunako as well. Megan, how do you feel about these performances?
First of all, I would like to say really quickly that, as of my Twitter, apparently Ian just snuck up on Damon Mills and said that he now swears like a real Texan. Ian, if you could tell me what swearing like a real Texan is, I'd be really happy.
Oh no.
No, but let's... Tatsumi was weird. Like, it was so hard to take that character seriously at times. Like, I'm sorry, he is one of the worst. His character design is fucking stupid. Like, he dresses in, like, outfits that look like a 1990s New York fashion show. And his hair is shaped into, like, cat ears. But motherfucker would shank you so fast for falling out of line that it is creepy. And I'll agree that I don't think I remember Ian playing a lot of characters like this. Like, even in Bakano, Dallas Genoward's kind of a slimy little shitball who can't do anything right. And then, most of the other times, I'm used to Ian being very, very much the hero. Pervy heroes, but heroes.
Yes.
And then he's also that one sword that didn't get to sing this week with Chris Sabat, but I'll be okay. But just put the fucking subtitles up for the dialogue, you assholes. But God, like, if this was the first time I'd ever seen Ian Sinclair, I'd be like, oh my God, this guy's an awesome new actor. Like, please cast him in more things. And then they did. So, yay Mike McFarlane for being a smart cookie. And Jeremy, by this point, Jeremy had been in a couple of things, I would think.
Yeah, I think by this point, Soul Eater was already released.
Yeah, that was like
Soul Eater's
2010, I want to say.
Yeah.
The dub.
Yeah, Soul Eater's out. So she is a big name, and I think Fairy Tail is also out.
I think so. I think around then.
Yeah, it would have.
Because Shiki
I think
was,
this was like 2012.
Shiki, the home video release for Shiki was about summer of 2012, I think.
Yeah, so, like, Fairy Tail and stuff is out. And, like, just to kind of give you the scale of things, in Fairy Tail, Jeremy is the lead, arguably.
Yes.
Not that Fairy Tail does a good job of, treating Lucy like she's a competent human. No, gotta make Natsu look better. Ian is the episode 1 mook. Let's just go there. And now they're in a completely different animal, and Ian is a very oddly designed, terrifying little, strategic yes man army sergeant to the Shiki. And Jeremy is this little girl Shiki who is the mother. This mother. And I think they even say it's like, oh, so Sunako's the daughter. No, Sunako's the mom.
Yeah.
Where she's like, she kind of wants you to pity her. And she's like, I had no choice. I had to eat. Everyone gave up on me and they left me and I only did what I had to do to survive. And you feel sympathetic for her getting turned into a Shiki because it's obviously kind of a very dubious intent moment. And there is potential allegory in there. Mm-hmm. But it's what she does after.
Yeah.
And we aren't talking about this character, but for me, I think kind of one of the scenes that gets me, and it's also a performance that kind of gets me in the moment, is I believe it's R. Bruce Elliott as the liquor shop owner.
Yeah,
where
I
he
consider
catches
putting
her
him in, but
where he catches her in the church, and he has very much gone full lynch mob. And you completely disagree with his actions because he will kill anybody who's even hypnotized. But he gives this speech to Sunako. Mm-hmm. And I think it kind of really exemplifies where I stand on Sunako, where it's, listen here, you little bitch. You just can't keep waltzing into places and expect things to change and bend for you. And she's still crying and screaming to get out, and she gets out and he doesn't. He dies.
Right.
But I think the line is, in this village we honor tradition, the young don't die before the old. You just can't come in here and change the status quo. And I feel like that's what Jeremy Lee does. She does kind of change the status quo and what I would have thought of this character, and her performance is very much mature and very much naive and very much sympathetic child. But at the same time, I don't know if I can 100% get behind her and her quest, because she ruined a lot of lives out of her own selfish desire. And I feel like if they would have just been like, hey guys, we're a bunch of vampires, obviously they could have ended with her getting killed. But there were obviously some people who would have taken sympathy on her. and maybe helped. Like, it's like you didn't. It's kind of like the outsiders versus insiders and a bunch of political stuff. But I think Jeremy nailed the performance, and that's that. So pass it on to Patrick so we can get it out of here.
All right, Roots.
All right, so it's really interesting that I'm in here recording this episode like a month after recording Devilman Crybaby, because this is Jeremy in 2 acts. Like here, whereas in Devilman she basically had to play 2 roles, where the jealous go-getter becoming sort of the demon-possessed super athlete to Sunako, where she's basically wise beyond her years because she is beyond years. And I do really like her speeches to Moroi, her speech at the end with R. Bruce Elliott. Like, that was really, really good stuff. I have to give props to the screenwriters for that too, because that could have been, you know, dense, heavy, and it just kind of flowed naturally. As for Tatsumi, like, I really like the duality of the character, where it's just, hi, friend, and I'll cut you, friend. I'll cut you. See this knife? See this knife?
I'll cut you down. Yeah.
I'm gonna cut you.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, I really liked it, and I can't think of any real standout moment with him, though. Because it's
hard, because there's so many
One
fun
of my
moments.
favorite standout moments, I will say, though, is in the very final confrontation he has with Natsuno in the hole in the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, you know, why are you doing this? We gave you a new life. And Natsuno's just back.
Did I want it?
Basically, I know, it's like, I've been dead for weeks. And then just, like, and he whips out the dynamite, and his reaction
Dynamite!
is
Where the
kind of
fuck
like,
did this
dull.
kid get dynamite?
No! His reaction is fucking dull surprise!
No, my favorite moments with Tatsumi is the episode with we didn't get to cover her, but I did consider her Ikumi, the crazy spiritualist woman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that
AKA
lady
Linda
was
Young.
the best.
Yeah, aka Linda Young.
Ikumi did
And
nothing wrong.
Ikumi's at Kanimasa pounding on the door like, let me in, I'm gonna prove your Okiagari. And from the corner, you see Tatsumi peeking out, like, excuse me, something going on. And she goes after him and attack, and he's just like screaming like a child, like, ah!
Yeah, he
Oh,
screams like a
God.
little baby.
It's great. I love that. It's just like, ah! It's one of my favorites from
It's
Tatsumi.
like up there with
It's-
Patrick Seitz' old lady voice for me.
Oh, it's great. So we've got 3 characters left to cover, and as long as an episode this is going already, I honestly really want to talk about them individually. This is a classics episode for a reason, guys. So the first of the 3, you can essentially call them our lead characters in a sense. Our first is Seishin Moroi. He is the junior monk of the village of Sotoba. His family basically is in charge of the shrine in the village. And Moroi is a very interesting character because he's not only the junior monk, he's also an author, a novelist, and he writes stories. And Moroi is one of 2 characters who you see the biggest conflict with in terms of whether or not the Shiki are monsters or if they are just doing this out of survival and they are not really the monsters that people think they are. Moroi, he's a very interesting character. Seishi Moroi is voiced by one Mr. John Bergmeyer, whom you may have heard in series such as Trinity Blood, Yu Yu Hakusho, and Spice and Wolf. So, let's see, who should go first? I pick Amon.
I think about John Bergmeyer is, at least as of late, I've mostly heard him in a lot of supporting roles. And so I tend to think of him in that capacity, and I occasionally remember, wait a minute, he's fucking Kurama in Yu Yu Hakusho. He's a great actor. And then he'll show up in something like this. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, he is a great actor. He's wonderful in this. I think, like as you alluded to, Seishin's really complicated. He has a lot of conflicting feelings that he has to work out as the show progresses.
Mm-hmm.
And he has probably one of the more interesting arcs that any of the characters have in this story. And this feels like the kind of role that's very easy to, yeah, not like fail completely, but just like not quite stick the landing on.
Yeah.
And I thought John did a fantastic job at it. Like, this is not an easy role, and I think he brought his all to this. And you just got this deep sense of Seishin's just, how conflicted he feels about this. It's like, my friends, I can see what a problem these Shiki are and how they're affecting my friends and my family, but I feel empathetic towards them and their plight, and I just don't know what to do. And it's just really great. Like, he brings his all to this role. This is probably up there with Kurama as far as like some of the best stuff I've heard from him. I'm really impressed.
Yay. Roos, how do you feel about John Bergmeyer?
Let's see here. His character fills kind of an interesting archetype within horror genre type fare. And that's the priest with the crisis of faith. And I think John Bergmeyer did a really good job portraying that. Like, there's a lot of interesting little moving pieces to his character. He's got the novel writer going for him. He's the junior monk. He's also kind of the moral center of the Shiki and the residents of the town. Like, he's a really cool character, and I like what John Bergmeyer kind of added to the mix. He's calm,
Okay.
he's stoic when he needs to be, but he's also faltering. Like I said, crisis of faith.
It's interesting that you say that he has a crisis going on, because he is actually one of the big driving points for Miroi's character, I think, and something that Sunako in particular is very, I don't want to say obsessed, but she keeps asking about, is the fact that he tried committing suicide.
Okay.
He tried killing himself, because remember, he has that scar on his wrist. And that very early on, Sunako lets him know, like, you can't really die that way. You know what I mean? That's not the easiest way to die if you're trying to look for an out. And so I like how you say it's like he kind of has this crisis of faith, but that kind of adds to it because there's also the theme of the main story that he's currently working on with the Cain and Abel aspect to it, trying to figure out who really is the monster in all this, and is it really murder if you're trying to kill someone, and there's a lot of aspects to it. And if I had to jump in here real quick, I really think John Bergmeyer played all of the facets of Miroi's character splendidly, from the surface persona, essentially, of this monk who has to be a presence in the village, to those inner turmoils, to the point where suicide becomes a major factor in his life. And I think the performance was splendid, and especially because we're going to talk about Dr. Ozuki in a minute. His interactions with Dr. Ozuki in particular are very, very complex and enlightening. Because if anything, because my problem is the show points to Natsuno as the lead character. Honestly, because we're going to talk about Natsuno last, but personally, I don't think that's the case. Personally, if anything, this story centers around Dr. Ozuki and Seishin Miroi, and their interactions and those different sides that they play, with Miroi ending up sympathizing with the Shiki, to the point where, spoilers for a reason, he ends up becoming one. And I think it's implied that he ends up becoming a Jinro specifically.
He's a Jinro by the end.
Yes, he becomes a Jinro by the end and saves Sunako, after everything that's been done. But
Fucking moron.
but yeah, like, John Bergmeyer definitely played all of those complex facets of Seishin's character very well, and I enjoyed it a lot. Megan?
Well, I, for one, think that Seishin Moroi is a moron.
Well, gee, I wonder why, but anyway.
Why'd you fucking save Sunako, you dumbass?
Cause they're friends. Oh.
She's a murderous little scamp. I get that she's got the whole, like, oh, I had to do this to survive. What's his excuse? Like, I get that what the human side did is
Irredeemable?
yes, for a majority of them.
Yes.
Like, everyone's got their hands dirty at this point, but so does he, and I feel like Seishin doesn't think that he got his hands dirty. I do find it very interesting, though, where he talks about the story that he writes, and that's probably some of my favorite stuff that John Bergmeyer does. Because Seishin's writing this story called Shiki, which is where they get the name from, about a guy who killed his brother, who was very perfect, but you find out that the brother never really existed. It's a part of life, and he killed off his humanity in killing that.
Yep.
So, and all that junk. And I think John Bergmeyer very much gets this, and he very much captures the spirits of the character. I also find it really funny because I just got done listening to the Magus Bride episode of Dub Talk. So now I'm remembering him hacking up cats.
As one does.
That's a thing.
I also have to be very, very, like, weird because Bailey keeps getting mad at me that I don't pet her anymore, and I'm like, I'm trying, baby. I'm trying to record something, honey.
I got shit to do right now.
I got shit to do, honey. I got shit to do, baby.
I got shit to do.
This is what happens when you own a 50-pound furry toddler. But Crisis of Faith is definitely there, and it's very interesting to see it from a not Christian standpoint.
Yeah.
Because again, Seishin isn't Christian. He is probably Buddhist or Shinto.
Probably.
The show never gives a clear indication. But I also find it very much that the family of the very religious family willingly give themselves to the Shiki. Because remember, his father also invites them in.
That is right. His dad did.
His dad also invites them in, and very much Moroi does that. And I think that one of the things that really is very strange is that he kills himself thinking that he can't escape destiny. He can't escape his place in the cycle and fate. And yet by the end, he is one of the people who violently escapes his cycle. He gets out of the town and he gets out taking Sunako with him, which for better or for worse means that next time Sunako probably tries this shit, he's gonna be her Tatsumi. And I think that John Bergmeyer really plays that balance, especially when he's gotta protect her.
Yeah.
When he's gotta protect Sunako, and then he kills, I think he only kills like one person in the entire show.
Pretty much, yeah.
And he kills them by accident.
Right.
I don't know how to feel about this character, because I think he's an idiot for saving Sunako, because I don't think, after all that she's done, while Sunako is sympathetic, I don't think she should have gotten out of there alive. But John Bergmeyer, like, God, he's such a really good actor, and it's a shame that we don't see him in a lot more lead roles.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a show I missed, like I said, when it first came out as a dub, back in 2010, because then I was really amazed when John Bergmeyer showed up as, like, a big character in Origami, and I was like, holy shit. And this reminds me a lot of Ebisu.
To an extent, yeah, it actually does.
But it's like if Ebisu got more focus in this show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not gonna fault it. I wish we could just sit and just do a podcast on, like, the main three characters and their roles in the story, but we don't want to be here for forever, so I think I'm good.
Okay, any other thoughts on John Bergmeyer as Seishin before we move on?
I really liked his speech at the end where he's kind of talking about how, like, no, Sunako, like, if God does not give an answer to anybody, no matter how good or bad you are, then you really shouldn't concern yourself with it. Just because he gives the right tone for somebody who Clearly, religion used to be a very big deal for them, and it no longer works for them. And I can't
Yeah.
quite describe what that quality is, but he gives it just the right whatever that is. And I was really
Yeah.
impressed by it.
I can agree with that. Any
And
other
I-
thoughts?
And I also do appreciate that it's him who narrates the end cards every episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He does do our episode previews.
Because
All of them.
not only are they kind of flowery and all in all kind of eerily pleasant, but
They also kind of show his inner turmoil too.
right. And I don't know if I just missed it, but I do kind of appreciate that they leave the reasonings behind him attempting suicide as ambiguous.
I think the show kind of gives the reason that Seishin does it is so that he can escape his fate so that he wouldn't be head monk. But
Yeah.
then again, Sunako kind of says, I think she says it through her writings on the manuscript, you can't have a murderer if they don't have a reason to kill,
Yes.
just like you can't kill yourself without having a reason to die.
Exactly.
But I do...
There is no murder without intent. That's the phrase, I think.
Which is weird with all the senseless killings that happen later on.
Right.
Oh boy.
But I do appreciate the fact that they kind of left that ambiguous. It's an important
Yeah,
part
it
of the
was pretty
character,
ambiguous.
but I'm glad they left it kind of up to interpretation.
So now to get to my absolute favorite character of this entire goddamn show. We're gonna talk about Dr. Toshio Ozaki. He is the resident doctor who runs a clinic in Sotoba Village. He, similar, I guess you could say, to Seishin, Dr. Ozaki comes from a prestigious family where his dad was the head doctor of the clinic and was in Sotoba. So already you kind of have a similar sense as to this character also being kind of trapped and stuck in their own kind of fate, in a sense. Dr. Ozaki, oh, sweet baby Jesus, he, for at least almost the first half of the series, he's intent on saving the villagers. He's trying to find out what's going on, what the cause of this is, if it's an epidemic, if it's something else. He does figure out that it is vampires. He's among the first to find out, alongside Natsuno, who we'll talk about last, as well as the Tanaka siblings. And oh god, he does what he can to try and stop them. To the point where, ooh boy. Oh, to the point where he does some vampire experiments on his dead wife turned Shiki.
Yeah, he turns Jamie Markey to a fucking biology frog.
Yeah. Shit gets real, guys, in this show. Oh
Like-
boy.
Injecting her with battery acid levels of cold.
Oh my god, can I read something really quick to you guys?
What?
VO anecdote. While recording Junie Tyson's Zodiac War, I had a cue that started, but on the surface. And when we went to record, instead of giving the line, I performed the lyrics to Eminem's Lose Yourself, starting from that phrase. I don't know how I get work. Hashtag Mom Spaghetti. Please take a guess at which voice actor this is.
I feel like it's Cliff because
It is!
Yes! Like, it sounds like something he would do, honestly. Let's
Can we
face
put in the
it.
recording, please?
I'm taking that out.
No! Can we leave it as a bonus then at the very end of the video?
Wait. Did you want me to leave it or take it out?
No, fucking leave it! That's amazing!
Okay.
Motherfucking fucking rapped Eminem while performing in a bad anime!
Points to Clifford.
Clifford!
Anyway.
Better be Gryffindor!
God damn it. Oh, shit. Points to him. Oh, God. Alright.
Anyway, back to Dr. Ozaki, injecting his wife with battery acid, which is ironically the name of my next metal man.
You're going through metal bands real fast here, buddy.
Oh, is
That's
that
because my cousin-
that Cannibal
that's
Corpse
because-
spinoff everyone likes?
Yes. I make that
Eddie-
joke because my cousin is in an actual goddamn metal band.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. All right.
Fun fact, if you like the band The Giraffes, my cousin is the bassist.
So, aside from Dr. Ozuki being amazing and slightly crazy as shit, the other reason why he's my favorite character in the show is the person who voices this character. And this is the other role, the other voice actor, where when I watch Shiki, I'm like, who is this person? Why do I want to know more things and see him in more things? So Dr. Toshio Ozuki is voiced by David Wald, who has been in series such as Fairy Tail, various characters of the Garo franchise, as well as the Sentai Filmworks dub for Vampire Hunter D. Oh boy. I really want to go last because this is my favorite character.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
This is gonna sound so weird because I don't know if David Wald's ever gonna watch this video, but I feel like the biggest goddamn moron in my life because I was at a con and I could have met him and I didn't. And this is the only thing I knew him was at that con was Hans from Attack on Titan.
Mm-hmm.
So if I ever get to meet him again, I am so sorry that I missed meeting you because you are, honest to God, one of my favorite people to talk about on this show because I don't think I've never not enjoyed him being in a show.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ. If, oh my god, if Donna Schultz was the most terrifying performance in the show, David Wald's in second place. And he almost had the whole scariest person in the show thing until that episode. Holy Christ on a cracker. And, if you don't know, Funimation has some clips on YouTube of the show. Unfortunately, for some idiot reason, one of them is him vivisecting his wife.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a very
boy.
memorable scene, if maybe not for reasons you would want to show your friends.
And, honestly, no, I'm not mad that it's up there because you can scare people with it. I'm mad that it's up there because you don't actually have to watch the show to find it. Because all of the emotionality and the frustration leading up until that moment, and, like, all of the crazy shit, because here's the thing about that part of the performance. It's not that he's going really hammy. It's not that he's doing some weird, wacky voice. It's that it's completely calm and completely straight.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There is no, like, evil, wacky scientist voice. There is no crazy, murderous motherfucker voice. Nope, it is one man, one camera, and one wife. Coincidentally, that is the name of my next porno.
God damn it.
Jesus.
That was really bad.
That
It was actually pretty fucking bad.
You should feel ashamed.
I really should, but, like, there is just so much to this character who never really openly breaks his cool, calm demeanor. Like, there are times where you see him freak out when he is all alone, and there's some times at the very beginning of the show that you kind of see it break, but once he figures out it's, what the hell is the actual term that they called him before they called him Shiki?
Okiragari.
Okiagari. Once he realizes that it's the Okiagari, that switch that flipped in that character is so noticeable, and it is so damn impressive. The other thing that I would really like to take note of is when as Dr. Ozuki, where David Wald internally monologues about how frustrated he is at the other villagers for not taking the Okiagari thing seriously. And he just sounds like the adult version of every paranoid teen in a horror movie. But you feel so sympathetic for him because you're like, no, you fucking idiots, it is Okiagari. Y'all are gonna fucking die. You all deserve to fucking die.
Yep.
But I don't sympathize for what this character went through either. Like, I feel bad that his mom died, like, that his wife gets turned into a Shiki, but he is an irredeemable motherfucker.
To a point, yes.
To a point, he's an irredeemable motherfucker. He's a lynch mob starting motherfucker. But I've talked too much, so I'm gonna hand it off.
Roots, how do you feel about David Wald as Dr. Ozaki?
Okay, so I'm not sure who in this group is gonna get the reference I'm about to make, but I got some serious RJ McCready vibes from
Oh yeah, 100%. Yep.
from
What's RJ
David
McCready?
Wald.
RJ McCready is the lead character of the 80s horror classic The Thing.
I haven't seen the thing, so I'm just gonna agree with you.
Probably.
Oh, we're gonna have to
gonna-
fix. We're gonna fix that, come AB.
Oh boy!
Oh, not with me in the fucking room, you're not.
Oh boy!
But
Anyways, continue.
Strap
Roots.
yourself in, kiddies!
No way in hell I am not
Yeah,
watching that fucking movie.
no,
Go fuck yourselves.
we're not gonna do that at AB.
Dang it!
Fine.
Y'all can do that at Anime Fest where I can go to another fucking room and cry.
David Wald delivers like the third eeriest line in this entire show,
Okay.
where it's basically right after he successfully kills his wife,
I know what you're talking about.
and
Oh my god!
Murray walks into the room and he's just like, "Hey, you mind helping me clean up?" And there's just blood.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's got the
everywhere.
cigarette in his mouth.
No. I think the exact line is like, "You've got good timing. Could you help me clean this up?"
And he's
He's just standing there. Oh man!
and he's got this look in his eyes, like, I have no remorse for what I did because I just fucking figured this out. It's so great. I forgive me, Gigi.
Oh,
Looks
what
like
you got to say?
looks like we've gone from Fun Police to Dr. Fun MD.
Oh.
Dun 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 dun. Hey, and he does try to drug her.
Wow,
Oh my
wow,
God, you're
wow,
right.
Wow.
Dun, dun,
This stupid
Dun,
cheap
dun,
porn
dun.
music
Dun,
going
dun, dun,
on.
dun. Somebody please make that graphic of just Moroi and Ozaki.
No!
Just Dr. Fun MD.
No!
Already do it.
Okay.
Make it a shirt.
I should probably pass this on before
Dr.
Steph
Drugs
shatters.
PI.
Okay. Amon, how do you feel about David Wald's performance?
I thought he did a very good job.
Tell me on the doll what the performance made you feel.
God damn it.
Just this poor man of science who just wants to heal the sick in this small village he lives in. He's not asking for a lot. Oh no, there's a summer cold. Why are people dying? Why has my wife come back from the dead?
Why is
as
everyone
much as he views her
fucking
coming back
dying?
from the dead. No, David Wall does. He does real good in this role. He's basically the main character for pretty big chunks of this story.
Yeah.
And I think he just does a fine job of doing the lifting, especially as far as being like one of our major viewpoint characters, as far as like, you know, what is going on here. Like a lot of times when we're learning about the Shiki, it's through him learning about the Shiki. And he does a very good job of being both a sort of viewpoint character, but also having a lot of, you know, agency and action on his own role. And I think David captures a lot of that very well, especially making him sympathetic in the beginning. And, you know, you like him and you want to see him succeed. And then, you know, his wife gets bit, and then she dies, and this starts to be about the point where Shiki stops being a fun show. And it just,
Or
it just
reversely, this is where the show starts becoming a fun show.
this feels like the beginning of the decline that ends in like basically the last 5 episodes, where most of the humans are just covered in gore the entire time. They don't seem to care really. Yeah, no, he's good. He has a lot of range he has to cover in this character. And I think we mentioned like the whole scene where he's like basically experimenting on his now Shiki wife. It's just bone chilling. It's like really upsetting.
Yeah. To which, by the way, props to Jamie Markey for playing Kyoko Ozaki.
Oh yeah.
By the way.
Absolutely. Kind of a
Yeah,
shame we
definitely.
can't.
like legitimately, holy hell, Jamie! Like okay, if I know that we're not gonna do this normally, but I want to do this because here's the thing. It is hard for somebody to express emotions when the only things you can do are grunt, squeal, and muffled scream.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would never in my life. I would have believed the fucking shit out of that if it was like.
Yep.
Jamie Markey's a really good fucking actress. Really fucking good. And I am so happy that this is a show that she was in as this type of character. Because this character straight up looks like a dumb bimbo. But she's not. She's like kind of this very... And I honestly do think that Ozaki really loved her.
Yeah.
They loved each other. Like, I think it kind of personally hurt him too to fake having to flirt with Chizuru.
Yeah.
And that scene broke my heart, not only because Seishiro, that was the moment where Ozaki completely sold his soul to win, but that he had to give up the love of his life to do so in the first place.
Yep.
And god damn it, props to you, Jamie Markey, for that, making that scene just as incredible, matching David Wald's controlled intensity with your own panic.
Yep.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I know. Originally I was like, maybe we should talk about Jamie, and I'm like, we have a shit ton of characters. For the sake of time, unfortunately it was one of those things where I had to cut characters, and Jamie's was one of them. But yeah, oh my god. Guess that leaves me, huh? Oh, where do I even begin? So, like I was saying before, and probably said 5 million times by now, this was my introduction to David Wald as an actor. And by God, is it not only the best way for me to be introduced to David Wald as an actor, personally, I'm going to say that this is still, by far, my absolute favorite performance from him that I've ever seen him do. Not only does he portray Ozaki's desire to resolve this epidemic, and not only does he portray this slight madman intensity when he's trying to convince the village of what's going on, he also has another complex side of him is, and wrote this down, the big thing for Ozaki, I feel, is that he's having a internal conflict with himself half the time. Because like I said, he does want to save this village, but something that does become prominent on occasion is the fact that he doesn't want to turn into his father. And his father was very controlling as a doctor, forcing his patients to like stay at the clinic or seek this treatment, all this other stuff. He never wants to be his father. Never, never, never. And there are points where you see Toshio start slowly but surely going into those little habits and tics that apparently his father had. And he just gets mad at himself for it because he hates doing that. And it's also really interesting because he doesn't want the village to just up and turn into nothing. The performance is so good to the point where, you know how he was telling Chizuru that he thinks that the village should just die out? Do you remember him telling Chizuru that?
Mm-hmm.
The performance is so good to the point where it's like, is he just going along with this game still? Or does he actually want to see the village die out? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ozaki is by far the most complex character of this show. And to see someone like David Wald portray this character And at that time, David Wall, as far as I know of, wasn't a prominent voice actor at that point. And to see someone like David Wald play so many facets and so many complexities with this character, I mean, I love David Wald as an actor. Nothing compares to this performance, even among all the other roles that he's done since then. Like, this is by far my absolute favorite performance from David Wald, and with good reason. It's, I could gush about this performance all day. It's just outstanding. I love it to pieces. And again, it's probably for me the best introduction to David Wald, the voice actor, I could ask for, honestly. But yeah, there's a lot of my notes I had written down were about Ozaki. Cause what was another thing I wrote down? I know there's one more thing. Yeah, because I know we were talking about this quite a bit too, his experiments on his wife. For me, I think in terms of David Wald's performance as Ozaki, that is probably the highest point of that performance, is the experiments on his wife Kyoko. And how Megan was describing it, he's just calm. He's taking it step by step. He's not like a crazy madman, but it's more subtle, if anything. It's very, very subtle, this change that's going on in Toshio, and David Wald just plays this honestly kind of masterfully, and I could keep going, but we don't have time. God damn, this performance is amazing. God. Dear God. Favorite character, favorite performance, holy shit. Favorite David Wald role, holy shit. Are we good to move on?
Yeah.
So, the story of Shiki's really interesting because it points itself to one supposed character for a lead character. Again, like I was saying earlier, I don't think that's the case, but we're gonna quote unquote call him our lead character, and we're gonna talk about Natsuno Yuki. He's this kid whose family kind of just up and moved from the city and into Sotoba village, because basically his parents are romantics to the point where I guess they did want to get married, and they had Natsuno out of wedlock in a set, basically.
Natsuno's dad doesn't believe in that whole establishment bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna stick it to the man.
Yeah, and Natsuno really just wants to leave and get out of the village. He doesn't want to be attached to anything or anyone. And he's seen as this very stoic, quiet character part of it. Some people such as Masao, interpret it as him being cold. And he's honestly, I never could quite understand Natsuno's character all that well, or the point of his character all that well, to be completely frank. But going into the actor who is voicing Natsuno Yuki, we have Mr. Jerry Jewell, who's been in series such as Baccano, Case Closed, and Fruits Basket. Oh boy. You know what? I'll start us off in this one because I don't understand the point of Natsuno as a character. That's the problem I have. Like, part of it is I feel like if you removed Natsuno as a character from the show, you wouldn't miss much.
You'd miss one. No, you would miss something. You would miss his absurd fucking fashion sense.
No. Here's the funny thing. For the people at home. So, wait, because Natsuno, the big thing with Natsuno is, like we were saying earlier...
I'm providing you the picture that I want you to use, because you need to fucking put the jacket picture on there.
We'll see. No, but like we were saying earlier when we were talking about Toro Muto, he ends up dying at the hands of Toro, and he comes back as a Shiki, specifically Jinro.
And gets the worst fucking jacket!
The funniest thing is, the first time we see him, Megan was marathoning the show the other day. She puts in the chat, she's puts a picture of his interaction of Natsuno's interaction with Dr. Ozuki, and he's like, "Who dressed this boy? And why do I want to cosplay him?"
this. I fully intend on doing that. I will fucking cosplay Natsuno's fucking jacket. It looks very comfy. He is a very, very good. And like I said, by the way, if you have to ask, Natsuno X Toru is totally my ship. The only experience I ever had with Shiki before this was actually reading a Natsuno X Toru dojin.
Yay!
I need
Very nice porn.
a tailor.
You want?
Cause I ripped my pants.
God damn it! No,
Let's just say ripping something was involved.
Whoa! But yeah, Natsuno as a character, I never quite understand him, because, he's, like, the stereotypical angsty teen, in a sense, and, I don't know, I just never could really quite get into that. However, with Jerry as Natsuno, I liked it. It came at a strange point to me when I watched it several years ago, where I was like, wait, Jerry Jewel's playing a teenager? This does not line up with this, and X, Y, and Z is not working. It does not... 2 + 2 apparently equals fish at that point. I was, again, a naive little babby back in the day. But, going back to it again, Jerry, I think, captured not only the stoic, yet possibly cold angst that Natsuno has, but Natsuno in the end, he does have his vulnerabilities. I mean, because he does despite telling himself that he's not going to let anyone in, he's not going to get close to anyone, he does let Toromuto in, and becomes friends with him. He does start to, slowly but surely, warm up to village life, and not only does he want to see at least the humans survive, though to be fair, he also states he could care less when he was talking to Tatsumi in the end. But
fuck all y'all.
Yeah, but for him in particular, by the end, he just wants everything to be as it should be. Like the Shiki shouldn't be Shiki; they should just be dead. This includes him. He does not care. Like, he straight up tells Ozuki, like, Ozuki's like, yeah, we're gonna hunt them down and hunt every single one down. And Natsuno's like, yeah, that includes me too. Like, he straight up tells him, and Ozuki's looking at him like, derp, what? Cause, yeah, Natsuno just wants the I guess you could say the balance in the world to be corrected, in a sense. And so you can tell, despite him having this stoic yet cold personality at points, that he actually does care about the village, and he wants everything to go back to the way it should naturally be. The dead staying dead, and the living staying living, you know? But, that's something Jerry captured really well with, his performance of Natsuno. Again, my biggest thing is I never could quite understand Natsuno as a character and why he existed. But that's another story entirely for another day. Amon, how do you feel about Jerry's performance as Natsuno?
I enjoyed Jerry's performance. I'm a big fan of Jerry Jewell. He's one of my personal favorites in the general Funimation voice acting pool. I've been a big fan since high school basically. Yeah. And I enjoyed his performance a lot. I'm always thrilled to hear him in things. And I agree that Natsuno is a little harder to crack than some of the other characters. Yeah. I will have when I'm done talking about him, I'll have a brief aside about that. But I like what he brought to the role. I thought you got a sense of both his feeling of alienation from a lot of his peers, but in the end also no, he does care about these people, and that his desire to be not attached to them is perhaps more born out of it's not that he hates them, it's that, his idiot parents keep dragging him God knows where, and he's maybe just kind of given up on, getting attached to anybody too much.
Yeah.
Hey, Megan, how much do you like...
Nihilism is cool, kids.
Nice.
Pretty much. I enjoyed him a lot. He brought the right. I don't know. I'm trying to find the right words. I enjoyed him. He brought the right tone to the character when it was needed. Especially playing a character who I feel like his sort of emotions and motivations are not always like on his sleeve all the time.
Yeah.
And Jerry I think had a little more ambiguity to work with as compared to say when Dave Wall's playing Ozaki, you can generally figure out what Ozaki's feeling at the time. Not a big secret. And I thought Jerry worked well in that sort of ambiguous state. As far as what Natsuno's deal with, this reminds me of one of these things where I'm never going to find an answer for, because as far as I can tell, Shiki started as a novel. It was then adapted to a manga.
Yes.
And then from what I can tell, the anime is largely an adaptation of this manga, which I don't think is like a particularly loose adaptation of the novel, but is also not a like one-to-one recreation of the entire story.
I believe it's an expansion of the original.
Yeah. So
the original novels.
Yeah. So this is one of these things where I'm wondering, is part of this that like these earlier works might have been a little longer and had a little bit more to Natsuno's character that made sense, but when they made the transition to like a 22 episode with 2 OVA television series, some things just kind of got shortened. And that's part of the reason he seems kind of odd.
Yeah, because you mentioned earlier, Megan, that, because, again, I didn't do a lot of research into the original novel. You were saying that Natsuno never became a Shiki, right?
I believe that's what I read, but I don't know if that source that I read it off of is 100% trustworthy. I do know...
Sorry, go on.
No, you can say what you're going to say.
No, I was going to say it does not help that neither the novel nor the manga have been published in English officially in any capacity.
Which sucks, because I'd actually fucking buy it.
Yeah, right? No, I totally buy this if I could.
Yeah, I was looking the other day, I'm like, wait, is the novel or the manga licensed in the United States? And I got disappointed because it's not. And
you can get in German and French.
That's depressing.
Read the shit out of that.
Yeah, no, for example, just to say so, the only source that I had for this essentially was probably TV Tropes, which isn't 100% the best thing that you can go off of.
Okay.
Which they were the ones that said that he does not make it out of the novels alive, but the manga he does make it out. And in the anime he does, it's just, we don't really know if it happened in the original novel.
Okay.
But I think I know what his kind of place is, but I'll go after Amon goes.
Are you all set, Amon?
I enjoyed his role. So yeah.
Alright, Megan.
No, I also really enjoyed Jerry Jewell in this, because I think when, I think of Jerry, like, teenage Jerry characters, up to that point, I would think of mostly, like, Kodacha, where he was a child, or Jimmy Kudo or Kyo, which were all very more like upbeat and energetic.
Yeah.
But Natsuno is very quiet and very angst. But I feel like he represents something in a way that both Seishin and Dr. Ozaki do. And that is, all three of them want to break the cycle that is staying in Sotoba.
Yes.
Like Megumin does. And, he becomes a Jinro, like Seishin does. Which, by the way, can we also talk about the two people that we saw on screen getting turned into Jinro were cried on by the people who bit them?
Interesting.
Well...
Because...
arguable with Moroi, because to be fair...
Remember, they said that you don't always turn back immediately. Cause,
No. What I'm saying is the person who fed on him the majority of the time is Tatsumi.
Me.
Not Tsunuka.
But the person who put the last bite in was What's-Her-Nuts.
No, it wasn't.
Anyway,
It was
the
Tatsumi.
person to cry on him was Sunako.
Yes.
But,
I'm just saying, though.
I think that Jerry really gets that outsider kind of influencing Sotoba, because he too is an outsider like the Kirishikis is at the beginning.
Right.
But unlike the Kirishikis, he melds into the society because of his parents, but he doesn't get to escape like Seishin and Toru do. But he also violently ends something in Sotoba. He fucking goes out like a badass. And he probably delivers some of the most heartbreaking and great lines, to which his ending line, to when Tatsumi talks to him, where Tatsumi's like, you don't have to do this, aren't you afraid of dying? And with, like, the most unflinching and quietness where, like, you totally realize that out of everybody, only Natsuno has come to accept his fate.
Yes.
Unlike every other character in this show, I've been dead for some time now.
Yep.
And I don't know, and I think the way that Jerry delivers it, too, is that he doesn't deliver it with hysteria. He doesn't go out like a triumphant motherfucker or suicider. He goes out with quiet resignation. Because unlike everybody else in the show, he's resigned himself to this fact. He's done everything to know that he gets to end his life on his own terms.
Right.
Which is really kind of funny and kind of karmatic when you think about that, juxtaposed to Seishin Moroi, who could not kill himself. And could not accept that, in a way, he's been dead for a long time now.
Yeah.
Like, spiritually, he's been dead. Or, like, once Dr. Ozaki kills, his wife, he's been dead for some time now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Jerry beautifully delivers that, and he beautifully delivers a lot of other lines. Like, when he asks Toru to run away with him, he's upset, and he's kind of a little hysterical, but it's never on the verge of open tears. It's very much like a hesitant, why won't you just run away with me? We can work this out together. I think there's another line here, too. I'm trying to find the quote for it, about, Toru. Why can't you act more like a vampire and less like the guy I used to know?
Yes. That hit like a freight train.
Damn.
That hits. Like, lines like, I don't like it. Everyone's always in everyone's business, keeping tabs, taking notes, starting rumors.
Yep.
That's, like, Natsuno doesn't like the village, not because it's a quiet place, it's because it's busy despite being so small and close-knit.
Yep.
And I think that's such a hard thing to get across in a show and still be genuinely likable as a character. I actually really like Natsuno.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually kind of upset when there was less Natsuno in the show.
Really? Okay.
Because I wanted to see him be a Jinro little badass, and honestly, I would probably put this up there actually as probably one of my favorite Jerry Jewell characters, and probably one of my favorite performances of his.
That's interesting.
I would love to see him get to do another character like this, hopefully one that gets more screen time, but, I mean, you could arguably say Psyche K is kind of, Psyche from Psyche K is, kind of the more comedic version of Natsuno, but...
To an extent, I would say so, yeah.
But, kudos to you, Jerry Jewell, and honestly, next time I see you at a con, I really want you to sign my copy of Shiki, and I hope that more people start bringing you this show, and if I'm one of the few people, like with Lilac, who does, hey, hell yeah.
Alright, Roots, how do you feel about Jerry Jewell as Natsuno?
So first and foremost, can we get more grumpy old man get off my lawn, Jerry Jewell?
I agree.
Can we?
This is
Yes.
This is an archetype that I really enjoy him doing. You know, it's interesting that you say that you really didn't understand the purpose of Natsuno's character.
Yeah.
Because, at the very least for the first half, I get what he needs to be. And that is sort of he's an outsider enough that he can be a skeptic about what's going on. I do kind of think they probably could have killed him off when they did, and it probably wouldn't have had too much of an impact on the story going along, but I do kind of like the fact that they kept him around, because he gets moments of badass in the last half of the show that, like, I really appreciate.
Him and Jerry, him and Ian in the egg chairs having like the Jinro conference.
That was the best.
Also, when I think it's he shows up at one point later on in the series after he's hypnotized Seishin, not Seishin,
Ozaki?
No, not Ozaki, is it Seishin?
No, it's Mr. Kitashiki, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the other Jinro that is Caitlin Glass, who basically doesn't fucking matter, sees him and it's like, wait, what are you doing here? This? And then all of a sudden, Mr. Kirishiki comes out and fucking shoots her in the head.
Oh yeah.
And then when we go back to Mr. Kirishiki, we see that he got bitten on his arm, and we're like, oh shit! The last person to see him before we saw this was not Snow.
But
so much implication.
I really liked it. I really, really liked the last episode. Especially the I've been dead for a while line. It was good. It was great. I like Jerry Jewell in the show. I wish he gets more opportunities to just be the grump. Because...
Which is funny. It's not Jerry's actual personality.
No, not at all. But
he's very, very, very relaxed in person, y'all.
Like he is
He's such a sweetheart.
Like he's a really cool person, but you know, his voice fits that archetype to a T. And I wish he'd be able to do more of that.
Before I go on to final thoughts, I wrote this note down because I have to talk about it. So, I was saying earlier that I did watch a couple of the commentaries for this show. And, I did watch the episode 1 commentary where, it was Mike, it was Jerry.
I think it was Mike, Jerry, John, and Dave. Yes!
Mike, Jerry, John, and Dave, that's what it is. And very early on, when we go to, the village, the side village of Yamaiti, and we see these rotting corpses and these flies all over the place. Jerry just pops in out of nowhere and calls it a flyrus. I wrote that down. I'm like, you son of a
bad
bitch.
pun.
It's a bad pun, but I love it. I had to throw it in there. So time to move on to final thoughts on the show and how we feel about the dub. Let's start with the people who haven't seen this show before. Let's start with Megan. What are your final thoughts?
I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Aside from that, how do you feel about the show?
Probably put into my top 10 anime.
Yes! I like that.
Probably not my favorite in the supernatural horror genre. That'll always, my favorite supernatural kind of horror show will always belong to Tokyo Ghoul. But damn, this show is hard for me at times. Like, as somebody who does not like, I do not like horror stuff, guys. Like, Tokyo Ghoul is my favorite anime, but like, if you asked me to, like, sit down and watch, like, fucking Saw and The Thing and The Exorcist, I would attempt to kill you. I don't like this stuff. It makes me uncomfortable. I'm not a horror movie person at all. That being said, this show is amazing. It is a disgustingly underrated show with a disgustingly underrated dub. It is probably got one of the best dubs of its time period, and it's surprisingly solid. Like, you would not think that a dub that came out almost 6 years ago can hold up and be better than some of the dubs that have just come out this year or last year.
Right.
There is not a single bad performance in the show, in my opinion. The writing is great, the direction is great, the sound mixing is amazing. It is some of the best I've heard in the longest time. I would 100% watch this show and recommend it to everybody to say you've at least seen it once. But yeah, that's what I think.
Alright. Amon, what are your final thoughts on Shiki?
This show's great. I'm sad I didn't watch this show earlier. This is very much my jam. You know, I like horror movies. I have a giant pile of Stephen King novels somewhere. This is very much the kind of thing I enjoy. And one thing I appreciate about this is, in my mind, there are very broadly two kinds of horror fiction.
Mm-hmm.
There's fun horror fiction, which is the kind of stuff that you can watch, like, you know, endlessly with your friends, and it's very pulpy and weird. Your Hellsings, any given Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street movies, stuff like that. And then there's horror fiction that is good, but it is so awful and draining that after you watch it, you think, like, you know, maybe I can go like a year or two and just not think about this at all.
Yeah.
because it upsets me. And I appreciate that this manages to be both at various points in its timeline, which is not an easy trick to pull off. And I like the show a lot. I think the dub's really good. It always falls in the category of like shows I enjoy that don't get talked about nearly enough, because this is great. And yes, go watch this immediately. Please buy it. Buy it now when you can, because it's going out of print for dumb reasons, and you should snag it now while it's
Fuck
cheap
you,
and available.
Aniplex.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Roots, what are your final thoughts on the show?
So, by the sounds of things, I'm probably the person here who's kind of had the most experience with this show. I've seen it in its entirety once or twice subbed, and like 2 or 3 times dubbed at random points throughout its history as a show. I really like the dub. I really like the sort of... It's slow burn creep horror that you just don't get, not just in anime, but in animation in general. Like, this kind of stuff comes out maybe, like, once in a blue moon. Even in terms of, like, live action horror, doing the slow burn right seems to be kind of a rare thing these days. And, the dub is really good, really solid. I can't recommend it any more than I am right now. Like, you know, I do also kind of have to put out the disclaimer that it's not for everybody. It is one of the most anxiety-filled shows I have seen in a while. But, yeah, get it while you can, smoke them while you got them.
Similar to Amon, I love horror mystery. It's my jam. I've stated this countless times. So, I was so gung-ho about doing an episode for Shiki, especially as a classics episode, and I was very adamant that I was going to host it, because Shiki is probably not only one of my favorite horror anime series, it's also probably one of my favorite horror anime dubs as well. The show itself is very... It has its atmospheric tone to it. It has its subtle, very, very subtle tone and intent. And the story, despite having plot holes by the end of it, it's still good. Some of the characters are questionable, sure. But the show itself, I still enjoy immensely, and I love it to this day. The dub itself, dear God, holy shit. It's very well directed, very well written, very well cast, very well performed, like on all fronts. Now that I've rewatched it, I can say that I don't have a problem with a single performance in this show. Does that mean it's a perfect dub? No, absolutely not. There are just small, minor nitpicks here and there, sure, but it's phenomenal. And as mentioned several times, not only have I changed opinions on actors since my first watch of the show, I'm sorry, Tia, it also made me notice certain voice actors, whether or not they've been involved in the industry for a while, such as Ian Sinclair, but more up-and-coming ones like David Wald, who suddenly are on my radar, and I'm like, who is this person? I want to know more things. And going back to what I was saying in the beginning with Mike McFarlane as a director, there's a reason why the dubs that I see him direct I find more enjoyable. Those are the smaller time projects, not the big mainstream ones, because he seems to have more liberty and more freedom to do what he wants. And Shiki, I think, is a very big culmination of that, and it's just downright phenomenal, downright amazing. And it like Ruth was saying, it's not going to be for everyone. If some people are very, very finicky with some gore, i.e., let's not talk about fucking scalps opening and you're seeing rotting brains and shit in the bathtub. But it's not gonna be for everyone. However, I also do at least recommend watching it at least once. Though personally, I think everyone should buy the fucking thing regardless. Now the fun conversation. So if you want to see the English dub of Shiki, right now there are two ways to do so. One obviously is through home video. It is available from Funimation on the save label. First of which I think all of us, it's safe to say that you should buy that fucking shit right now. The other way to do so is through Funimation Now. That's where the English dub only is right now.
I believe the sub's on Crunchyroll.
I'm getting to it. Don't interrupt me. Mommy's talking. Yeah, the English dub is on Funimation Now, which they do, as always, they have their 14-day free trial if you wanted to try out their subscription service. And of course, you're frequent reminded that if you don't want to keep the service, to cancel it because it asks for credit card information and it will pull money if you don't cancel it. As Megan just interrupted me and was saying, the Japanese version, if you want to see just the show itself and in Japanese, it is over on Crunchyroll. It did make the transition a while ago from Funimation to Crunchyroll, and they also have their own subscription service as well. But here's the drawback for all of this. So we are recording Shiki on February 21st, and some people may have noticed this by now. Over the past few years, there have been a bunch of Aniplex-produced titles that have been slowly having their licenses expire between Funimation and Sentai Filmworks. Shiki, unfortunately, is going to end up more than likely as one of those casualties. And if the expiration dates that on the forum that have been posted are still accurate, because they have been pretty accurate so far, Funimation, the last day for Funimation to have the license for Shiki would be June 30th of this year. So, that's the other really big reason as to why I really wanted to talk about the show now, because it will expire later on this year. And then it will be stuck in the void that is Aniplex. And Lord knows when we'll see this come up again.
Yeah, if we get lucky, it might go on a streaming service. But given that it's on the save label, and I'm assuming it's a sign it didn't do so hot over here, that may not be a very likely outcome.
Yeah, it might. And unfortunately, it's probably going to be one of those casualties where it's going to be a snowball's chance in hell that we'll ever see this show again. So stream it while you can, but preferably buy it, because once it's gone, we're fucked.
Like, it's $18 just about everywhere, so
yeah,
get cracking, folks.
It's not that. Yeah, it's not going to be hard to find. And you might find, at least for now, used copies of the original set, the limited edition set that I kind of have, for a fairly decent price, at least until the license expires, and then, of course, that'll be jacked up all the hell. But yeah,
$100 Bakano copies, everybody.
Yeah, go buy Shiki before it expires, or at least go and watch it. They'll preferably buy it, because then you won't have to pay an arm and a leg for it the next time it comes out. If you're interested in anything that the four of us do, you can follow me on Twitter at Lilac Anime Review with review beats by REVUE. Megan, you can follow her on Twitter at QueenEra2. She is also a moderator for the Funimation Discord. And by now, are you a Funimation Forum mod too?
Whenever they decide to fucking update my account, I will be.
Which hopefully will be fairly soon.
Not right now. Let's go with that.
Not right now, but eventually. Roots, you can follow him on Twitter at Roots of Justice. You can also follow Amon at AmonDulUS for a bunch of fun random tweets and all this fun stuff. And if you're interested in catching anything that we do here at Dub Talk, of course, the easiest way to do so is you're already here on our YouTube channel, so why don't you subscribe while you're at it. We also have a Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and Twitch account, all of them labeled Dub Talk Podcast. Though the Twitch one, we haven't done much with it yet, though.
The answer is no, I'm not a forum mod yet.
No, the Twitch, our Twitch channel we haven't done a lot with yet. We're still kind of tinkering with it and playing around with it. Though we are possibly planning something for the weekend of Anime Boston at the end of March, so be on the lookout for that. But otherwise than that, I think we're good. Is there any final remaining thoughts that anyone wants to share before we close out the day, or the episode?
I have a dumb piece of trivia I can share.
Go ahead. Let's
In
go.
a strange bit of temporal synchronicity, the manga of Shiki was illustrated by Ryuji Fujisaki, who is best known for being the writer and illustrator of Hoshinengi, which is currently getting a not very well received anime adaptation.
Also, another fun
Timing.
fact.
Timing. Good job. Yes,
He's
Megan.
married to the person who wrote another.
Oh.
No,
This
the writer of the manga is married to the person who wrote another.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This explains a lot.
Hmm.
Explains
But yeah,
so much.
Hoshinengi. The anime is so bad, Japan wants them to take it back.
So,
Anyway.
Also, please fund my Nendroid fund. I need more sword boys. Please bring them home to me.
You do not need more sword boys.
Yes, I do, Mom.
No, you don't. God damn. Roots, did you
That's my purse. You don't know me.
Roots, did you have any other final remaining thoughts?
hey, Amon, you're
This is
on an
not over.
episode. We need a Dusty album recommendation.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you're right.
Need a dusty old song.
What
Right.
you got? Dusty old song you've never heard of. What do you got for us?
I have two. For the first half of the series, it's all weird and dark and gothic. I recommend Mysterons by Portishead, or really anything off Dummy, their first album. For the second half of the series, I don't know its name, but I recommend that one song by Polish metal band Behemoth that when I listened to it made me feel physically ill.
I have a dusty song that's not so dusty.
Oh
Sure.
no, what now?
Please look up the full version of the first opening of the song. I believe it's called Kuchizuke.
Yes, by
By Bucktick.
It's a
Please
good
look it up.
song.
It's a
It's
very
a
good
fucking
song.
amazing song.
Also, the second ending's
Um,
really good too.
Yes, it is because they
Also
did that.
Dress by Bucktick from another vampire show that hopefully will be a classics episode. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, I think at this
And,
point.
I'm going through puberty.
Oh, hey, I actually have one. And this is sort of roundabout.
More?
So, we talk about... No, I'm not doing that.
Not today, Chris Squire.
But, considering one of the pieces of terminology from Shiki is Jinro, aka
Yes.
Wolfman,
Ooh,
I
that's
would
true.
recommend a song by the band Mastodon called The Wolf is Loose on their album Blood Mountain.
Got all these song recommendations, and here I am just sitting in the corner like, I don't know what the fuck to say now. I'm just gonna say that is it for us tonight. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this long, epic adventure, this long, haunting adventure. We will see you next time, and until then, otaku, my friends.
Night, folk.
Face down.
Night, nerds.
What up, nerd?
I will go down with this ship. I won't close my eyes out, cause Toru and Natsuno are banging.
You would end it on that, wouldn't you?
Hell yeah, bitches! I got it at